This podcast is intended for mature audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
So what do you got going on there?
This is anti-gravitational technology here. This is some real fancy stuff. We don't call it the Bass Galaxy for nothing, but to be honest with you, it's an honor having two absolute hammers. And if you're not from the northern half of the region, if you're going to Sturgeon Bay, these two guys right here will take your lunch money. We've got Luke Ronnestrand and Adam Rasmussen, who it's got to feel a little weird not fishing the Classic this year.
Yeah, that's a true fact.
Not to bring up a touchy subject, but
yeah, like I've never even seen the Expo because last year I almost won it. I got to fish all 3 days. That was the first Classic I went to, so kind of cool hanging out at the Expo, getting to see everybody, and actually seeing a lot of faces.
All right, we're gonna give up on that.
I
I'm sorry.
thought it popped.
It's a distraction. Yeah.
Yeah, people come up for autographs, and it's crazy, like how many people still remember what happened last year.
Yeah, usually people forget the guy who takes second.
Exactly.
But, I was gonna ask, like, what was that like fishing a Classic? And you're not a guy who shows a ton of emotion, so like.
No, I'm pretty even keeled, but it was, I don't know, I didn't really afterwards it was like, all right, this was like absolutely the coolest thing I've ever experienced. I wish everybody could have the chance to do that, but like I didn't think about it. It's so busy from when practice starts and media day and like the champions dinner. There's so much going on that like you honestly don't have time to think about it. Like you're thinking about your game plan of what you're gonna do, and then all of a sudden it's over. Like, so I didn't really have time to think about it. It was just another tournament, a 55 boat tournament, and went and caught. My main goal was to catch a bass to bring across the stage. Like before I got there, I'm like, I need to take a fish across the stage. And I caught one right away in the morning. I'm like, all right, I get 4 more. I'll take a limit across the stage. I'm just going to enjoy it, whatever. And then I caught a 5'10", and then stuff started coming together. And then it was, after day 1, it was like, all right, like, don't fuck this up. Like, you might actually have a chance here. Like, don't screw up. So, yeah, it's awesome experience.
I'm just going to move that a little bit closer for you boys. And I guess I want to get back to kind of fishing down south, but what I'm really curious about is this famed body of water they call Sturgeon Bay. You call that home. And you, Luke, you've been fishing it a while as well, right?
Yeah, I've been fishing it a long time, but I'm definitely just a visitor. But I've been fishing out there for about 20 years now. I started fishing out there for muskies.
Okay.
That's primarily what I do for a living is muskie guide and the muskie industry. But I kept, for all the years of fishing out there, just started seeing all these giant bass swimming around while we were fishing, and then just decided to start fishing for them. And it's so, the way that you fish for those bass is just a complete opposite of how we fish for muskies, and I just became instantly addicted to it.
Sure.
And then it was just, the rest just kind of fell into place, and it's just something I enjoy doing every year.
It's probably like your second home. You're always sitting out on my juice. I see you out there all the time.
Always for a few weeks.
Yeah. And are you originally like from there?
No, Adam? I grew up in Stevens Point, Wisconsin,
okay,
and spent most of my life just fishing on the Wisconsin River. That's where I started guiding. And then I've been in Sturgeon Bay for 9 years, I think. I lived in a salmon boat for 2 years.
Do you still do that, the salmon charters
and
stuff? Because you guide out there now.
Yep.
More profit in salmon or smallies?
Salmon, because it's real easy to run 2 trips a day, and you're not burning yourself out.
Well, yeah, stockbrokers.
It's a lot easier.
Catch them,
yeah,
right? Absolutely.
But I spent 2 years in a boat, and then I just finally moved there. And it's the greatest place on earth. You can take a right, go salmon fishing, trout fishing. Take a left, go catch giant smallmouths, walleyes, muskies, I mean, you name it, everything is right there.
And because you run two boats. You run a Vexus Deep V and a bass boat, right?
Yep. This year I'm just running a bass boat because I'm going to be gone so much that I really don't need the DVX. But yeah, I ran a DVX 22S and VXS 21. So
sick, man.
But that VX, like, dude, that thing's so awesome in rough water. Like, and I would rather fish out of my bass boat anyhow.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Well, they've got that 19-degree dead rise on that boat, so it's got a real nice chisel underneath, and those airwave pedestals like make a big difference. But because what are you running now?
I have an older Z521.
Okay.
I'm awfully jealous watching Adam drive around out there.
That I knew. I think that VX would be a really good musky boat.
Yeah, it's
fit your 8-foot rods, or
oh, yeah.
You guys are 10-footers now,
well,
right?
10-footers now,
Yeah.
but no, they're awesome. I've definitely drooled over them for the last several years at the sport shows.
Yeah, but anyway, diving into the belly of the beast with Sturgeon Bay, like, I'm a big history buff, so I kind of want to like hear the I've heard George talk about like the history of Sturgeon Bay, but they're the smartest smallmouth I've ever they're some of the hardest bastards I've ever tried to catch, and I guess there's no way it's always been like that. So like when Sturgeon Bay, we've seen the hype from it the last 5 years, but you guys have been catching a lot longer than that.
yeah. But
where did it begin?
They've always, like, those big ones have always been tricky. I remember, I think it's 12 years ago was the first time I went there, and I fished the Sturgeon Bay Open, and I was pre-fishing, and I went 2.5 days. I did not catch a bass, like, didn't have a bite, and then I kind of finally figured it out. And once you figure it out, it definitely makes it go a lot easier. But it's like it's finessey, clear water, picky, especially in the spring, like, 'cause there's only so many areas that they're gonna go to, so obviously they see a lot of pressure, and you got to come up with some little tricks to get them to bite. But it's, once you figure it out, it's pretty damn fun.
I hear about this, like, I mean, when I was at Sturgeon Bay, it seemed to be jerk bait or Ned rig, tube, something like that. But I want to dive, like swimming a tube. Daffron tells me you can. Oh, see, Luke, now's where I need you to just grab them, strangle them. No, I'm genuinely curious about this, dude.
It doesn't work anymore.
It doesn't?
No, they've all been caught doing that.
I know you caught all of them doing that. So then we can talk about it then. Like,
I guess.
Well, you tell us how you figured it out. Like,
so how I spill all the goods?
I can cut if you.
This is how I figured it out. Like, so obviously we didn't have cool stuff like spot lock when I started fishing, so you did a lot of drifting, and you drift and you drag a tube. You chuck it out as far behind the boat as you can, and you drag it, and you catch smallmouths. I'm like, well, why the hell wouldn't you just cast it and imitate dragging it? And that's all it was. And you quickly learn that if you're man enough to stand on the trolling motor in 4-footers and have the boat control that some guys did over there, now everybody just pushes a button and spot locks, and half the time, like, they're sitting on top of the fish and they don't even realize it. Instead of, you got to stay away from them and they get spooky. And I'd stand up in the bow of my boat and run the trolling motor and cast on the school every cast, and you're basically dragging it through them. But that's how you make hay. Instead of going up, making a drift and catching 4 or 5, 6, you just sit right where they're all sitting and keep casting in there, and you catch them on every cast.
Yeah, I get that, Adam, and I drag a tube all the time. But when you drag a tube, you can only drag it, like, versus drifting, it keeps dragging. Hey guys, wanted to share with you a sneaky little trick I found when I was at Thorne Bros the other day. This is a new Japanese bait that came out, and this falls into the gravity trend category. You guys have maybe heard of a Depths cover scat or a Yamamoto Yamatanuki. These are weighted soft plastics that have proven to be very effective at catching bass, not only just in general, but especially pressured fish. Well, this new deal that just came over from Japan, Thorne Brothers got these in. It's called the AK Punch. It's made by Issei, and you'll kind of notice it looks a little funny. Looks like a scrotum, if you will, or some private parts. And they make two sizes here. I've got a 2.4 and a 2.8. Thorne Brothers has both of these on the shelves, and that's what I picked up. And rumors of a 3.3 inch coming out. But the big thing with this bait is it's completely different than the cover scat and Yamatanuki in terms of its action. So looking at a close-up, this is the 2.8 here. What you're going to see is it's got this voluptuous tail there that looks like a ball sack. And what that tail does is it actually vibrates when you pull it. So think of that weighted soft plastic having a nice erratic fall, and then when you pull it, it's going to vibrate your rod like a chatterbait. So you're putting a Ned rig size plastic into cover and generating reaction strikes from it. But looking at the Japanese and how they're rigging it over in Japan, something I wanted to share is they're adding a nail weight into the sack, and they're putting it right there just like that. So that's a 1/16 ounce nail weight you're going to put, perpendicular in the scrotum there. And what that does is it's going to cause this bait to backslide, okay? And it's also going to increase that vibration when you pull it away from that fish. So if you think about it, you're able to skip that up under a dock. It's going to backslide pretty erratic. It's going to fish heavier than a cover scat. And then when you pull that, there's a fish behind it, you pull it away, and then it's going to fall right back into that fish. So if you're looking to pick up probably one of the sneakiest bite-gettingest lures out there, Thorne Brothers just got these in. It's the AK Punch from Issei. Pick you up a 2.4 or a 2.8. Remember that nail weight trick, and then there's various hooks you can use. So right here we've got a screw lock hook, so that's actually going to tear up less plastic. So if you don't want that nose to tear on the bait as much, definitely recommend that Masayuki hook from Decoy. It'd be a 1/0 for the 2.4 and a 2/0 for the 2.8. Or else the KG worm from Decoy, you're going to go down in a size, so number 1 and then a 1/0. So the 2.4 versus the 2.8. So the 2.4, the baby size one, is designed to fish on spinning gear. So get you a Vocelka fishing in custom, medium or medium light action, up to 12-pound test fluorocarbon on this one. And the 2.8, you can fish on a lighter bait caster up to 16-pound fluorocarbon. So consider, this your spinning rod version, this your bait casting rod version. And that rod I like for this bait casting version is going to be Vocelka Fishing and Customs MB736. So that's a lighter, medium, heavy 7-foot rod. So get you some of that, some 15-pound fluorocarbon, teabag you some bass this year. Pick you up the AK Punch from Thorne Brothers today, and don't tell nobody. Kind of like a hair jig, right? Like when you tow a hair jig behind the boat, eventually that smallmouth's following it and it never gets to the boat, so they eat it eventually, right? When I'm dragging a tube, it's drag, stop, pick up my slack, drag, stop, pick up my slack. So that's like, you ain't dragging it like that.
No, you just keep reeling it.
That's what okay.
And we're not talking about what geared reels I used or anything, but that's like a huge part. It's speed.
Yeah, and I guess I've gotten on that bite one time with a 3/8 ounce Goby tube in the fall, like realizing that, I just need to reel it on the bottom like a swing head, kind of. And that worked for me one day really good. So that's kind of rod tip 10 o'clock.
Yeah, usually I like to try and keep my rod tip up. Otherwise, if the wind's blowing, you don't want that bow in your line. So you have to fish with your rod tip down, but I try to keep it up, and you just want to feel it just ticking the rocks, and I mean, you'll feel it in your spine when they bite it. It's a thong, And yeah, but I honestly though, it's not, I tell people how I catch them, give them the bait, whatever. They'll be in the same boat as me and not get bit, and I'm cracking them on every cast. And so it's like you get the feel of the right speed. Like, I can't explain it. It's when it feels right.
Well, hair jigging's kind of similar. Like you kind of feel that, right? When you get intimate with it,
yeah, because I mean, you fish a hair jig a lot over there, right?
He's Mr. Hair Jig.
Like, you don't want it on the bottom, but you don't want it too high off the bottom. There's definitely a trick to it.
I do have a funny story about, so Adam's pattern has been legendary for a long time, but like nobody really knew exactly what he was doing. We kind of had an idea. So another guide and I were fishing like 5 years ago, and we're like, no, he's just reeling in a tube. Like, that's how he's getting them. So we did it for about 5 minutes, and my buddy caught a 6-7. He's like, "Are we doing this right?"
They've caught a 6-7, yeah.
Holy smokes! Dude.
So it's just like, oh my god, this works.
Right.
But we've never obviously had the same success that Adam's had doing it. But it does, like, it's amazingly good when it works, and then we've also had success on Mille Lacs with it too.
Sure. It's like a really, I mean, do you want to talk about what tube it is? I know it's really small.
Yeah, it's just 2.5 inch. Like, Howie's Tackle sells all the tubes that I use, and nothing special. Like an amber sand color or green pumpkin, depending on like what the water clarity is, and overcast versus sunny, and then just figure out the weight of a head. Like, if you're fishing in less than 4 feet of water, you're gonna throw an 1/8 ounce, like 4 to 6, a 3/16. If I'm in like that 6 to 10, I'll use a quarter. You just want it light enough that you want to be able to fish it around faster, so you don't want too light of a head. But there's also all the rock snot it's the most annoying, that mossy green shit that grows on those rocks. Like, you got to keep it so it's not, you don't want your tube getting down in that, but you need to be making some bottom contact with it.
It's a fine line. It's a balance point, if you will.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're all goobered up, and they don't like that. So,
well, you both could probably, like, it seems like Sturgeon Bay. It's the type of deal where you could be fishing smallmouth, casting this way at them, not getting bit, and then all of a sudden, you may check it later and throw a different direction, and all of a sudden, like, that lake current is that's the intimidating thing about getting to Sturgeon Bay is how does that current play out? I know with Mille Lacs, I've had it where, like, it's a washing machine, right? You get enough undertow where, like, the reefs on the shore side are steep and eroded from that, and the lake side of the reef has, like, a more elongated taper. So, like, I've gotten on a deal where you're quartering downwind, casting and hitting up current, like on Mille Lacs. But Sturgeon Bay, how do you figure out the lake current besides obviously time on the water?
Yeah, I mean, you can feel it. Like, I can feel it in the boat when I'm fishing. Like, I know which way the current's going. And funny thing, I didn't really realize how much current is out there until we were doing a in-depth outdoors show, or I don't know if we're shooting a show or just shooting some content or whatever. And Ben brought his scuba stuff, and there were a lot of fish on beds, and he's just trying to get some video of fish sitting on beds. And so we're by this hump, and me and James are talking, and like watching the time, like he should be coming up. And we turn around, and he's like a quarter mile on the other side of the boat. And he's like, man, I came around the corner of that hump, and the current hit me so hard, like I couldn't even swim into it.
How deep was this?
Oh, like 8 to 10 foot.
It's crazy.
And then the light bulb went off, and I'm like, well, that's why, like, all the bass sit right there all the time. And they only bite at certain times because that's where they set up when the current's coming out of the south, and they just lay there and wait for, gobies and whatever to get washed over the hump. And it's so I noticed that, and then I started paying attention to the current. So when you figure out which way the current's going, you know where the warm water's going. All fish feed into the current. Like if you're on a river, you don't go cast downstream and bring your bait upstream.
Right.
You cast upstream and bring it downstream. So you're bringing your bait into their face. So It's the same thing over. That's why you're like, all of a sudden you could turn around and you catch them off the other side of the boat because you have a different angle. I think it's just because the fish are seeing the bait. You're bringing the bait into their face more.
Yeah. Well, like I know on like a river, let's say you're on a wing dam, right? You learn like they'll sit right where that current hits and moves and get in like a conga line. You get the right angle and you're like, got one. And then you go to like Vermilion, we were talking about this today, where you got that back current deal with the eddy, and I guess these humps, are you seeing them more positioned like that wing dam conga line deal, or are we talking more like the back current eddy? The back current.
Sure. Yeah. Sure. Usually, sometimes they'll get up on the front side, and but I would say 90% of the time they're going to be on the down current side of the hump or structure, whatever you're fishing.
I learned that as a hard lesson this year in the Wisco bass tournament. Out at just one of the big center rock piles in Little Sturgeon Bay, where the day before that it was fairly calm, and we had all of our fish on what would have been like the lake side, or where would have been where a light wind was hitting the spot. And we caught a fair amount of fish there, not a ton, so we didn't like wear them out. So the next day that we went there, I was like, all right, this is gonna be awesome. Like we get there first, set up right where we were, and like it was really really windy the second day.
Sure.
And it was just like we were getting walleyes and pike on the up current side, and then a boat slid in on the down current side and just started catching them. And then by that time, everybody kind of rolled in and kind of got their spots locked on for the morning. I was like, and I'm fucked.
Yeah.
You never fish the same spot 2 days in a row in Sturgeon Bay. I can tell you that one.
Same with bait and knock. I learned that lesson.
It was they move so much. It's
so that lake, like you got these pools of warm water, right? Which is really key in the spring. Like it'll be, let's say we're, it's on the corner at Little Sturgeon. There's a pool of warm water. Like how far will that move from day to day? Like, will it move like you got to drive to Egg Harbor today? Like
no, not that far, but I
definitely from one shore to the other. Or I mean, I guess I've seen areas that have completely cooled off.
Like I honestly think people say I'm stupid, but like I don't think there's like Little Sturgeon fish, Riley's Bay fish, Sand Bay. I think they're all the same fish.
100% agree with that.
Really?
Yeah.
Because it's you get in the right bay and find the warm water, and they're there, like they're all there, and you don't catch them you'll catch a few, but it's not
in the other bays.
I think they all, when they move, like they all move.
They go somewhere, because I've been in Riley's in practice, and it's loaded, and you go there tournament day, and it is a ghost town, and you can drive.
Yeah, and everybody's in Little Sturgeon cracking them.
Yeah, or all of a sudden, got one out of sand today. Oh,
yeah.
Shit.
Yeah, I think they move like bay to bay. And up north, like when I'm guiding and stuff, I've learned, like, I think they move like, they might move 2 or 3, 4 miles in a day.
They won't swim up to Bay to Knock or nothing, will they?
I don't think they do anything that crazy, but I think they move a lot more than people think they do.
Well, I've heard different theories on that. Like I've heard guys like think that smallmouth are way more residential than we give them credit for, and then I've heard that end of the spectrum, and I think it depends a little bit more on the body of water. I bet the Great Lakes are maybe a little more nomadic, maybe.
Yeah, for sure. I think the Great Lakes, they're more pelagic, and they'll move more versus like an inland lake, even like Mille Lacs. I think like they kind of have an area that they like. That's where they live. They don't they don't move that much.
I agree with you.
But the Great Lakes, like they definitely they move around a lot more than we think.
I have a lot. How deep do you catch them in Sturgeon Bay? Because like first time I was there, I wanted to do like the Chris Zaldane thing on some of them offshore humps, and I had a good deal going on a little swim bait, but it was just so much stuff, dude. Like it's intimidating. I've tried to break down too much water the first time I was there. I guess
Yeah.
how do you look at the offshore? And it probably doesn't play in the spring much, but
No, not. It seems like in the springtime, like they want that warm water. Like you find the warm water, that's where you're gonna find the bass. They're not. I've tried it, like fishing out. Like okay, you know, I know where they winter, and you try to like get in between. Like all right, like they're gonna come here, they winter here. Here's the structure in between, and you're fishing like that 20-30 foot stuff. Like that's where I feel like they should be if they haven't moved into the bays yet. I've never.
really,
No, I don't even waste my time anymore. I drive around, look for warm water, and that's where I start fishing. Like it's keep it simple.
Yeah.
I'm horrible at catching them deep to that time of the year. I've caught some in like on the South Shore of Sturgeon Bay, on like the steep breaking shorelines there, but they're never. They're most of the time they're not the big ones. They're a lot of the
Yeah, and those ones like they can just they move up. They can move up and down like so quickly.
you got that big shelf like by Riley's, right? That's kind of the staging spot, right?
Yeah,
Fall
like
and spring.
they roll up there and they stage, and then they, as soon as that water warms up, they start pouring in.
Housekeeping?
Housekeeping, me fluff your pillow, me jerk you up. I love that movie.
Oh, we should bring her in. Let's do this. That's the best movie of all time, by the way. Wonder if she dates one of the Yankees. I really like throwing a blade bait, and I got some fish going on little sturgeon on like a 1/2 ounce blade bait when I hardly knew how to throw one when it was windy. You know any guys who have done good on that? Like when it gets windy or something?
In the fall, we'll
Really?
catch them on blade baits in the fall, and you know, A-rig is really good in the fall. But I haven't done the blade bait thing in the spring at all. I do it for walleyes.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like 4 foot of water. Then just bomb it. Yeah, they ate it. I mean, I didn't catch any giants doing it, so I don't think I dialed it in or nothing. But that Thorne Brothers hair jigs won some money out there. Luke, how long have you been tying marabou jigs?
I want to say I started tying those. It probably was like maybe the year after I fished the first tournaments out there. So I'm trying to think what year. That was probably about 10 years ago
Sure.
or so. And I just, like, I heard about it, but I didn't really know anybody. Like, we were just out there fishing. And, like, I want to say after one of those tournaments, like Gussie used to just hang out and BS after weigh-ins forever. As long as there was beer, like, he was hanging out, and he kind of like just told me what the concept was. And then just like the next year, I tied some god awful bucktails, and I caught fish on them. And it was just like, well, this is cool. And then like just kind of started refining it after that, and then got into the marabou. And like honestly, I started tying those because it was just like, well, I'm not exactly making any money out here. I got to have some way to justify to the, like, hey, honey, like I got to be out here selling these jigs and promoting it. It was just a way to.
Do your fingers hurt?
Oh yeah, all the time. They're
Dude,
Well, now your
I
back's
don't know
gonna hurt.
how.
We're going musky fishing. Yeah.
I don't know how you can.
it's
I don't even like tying up like the 30 I tie for myself.
That's
every
how
year.
much I love fishing in Sturgeon Bay. Is I'm willing to do all of that to go and keep.
I just can't tie them quick. Where I couldn't like. Nobody's gonna pay $20 for.
How
my
long does
hair
it take
jigs.
you to tie one?
So I probably have so I don't pour. I have a friend that pours the heads for me, but I bet I can do one in like 6 to 8 minutes. But I get everything kind of laid out,
Yep.
and so.
Yeah. That's fast.
I'm not afraid to talk about how so I palmer mine. That's where you take and you actually wrap the stem of the feather around the jig instead of like peeling each stem off. And then my idea with that was that like you always heard about, like I like putting plastic in mine too, but you wanted to get the jig to have like some body to it.
Yep.
And so by palm rank, the quills, or like the individual quills, are.
Hey guys, Aaron Teal here with Vocelka Fishing and Customs here, and excited to talk to you about my new signature series rod, the Puppet Master. My #1 confidence technique is by far offshore power finesse fishing, so we've spent a lot of time and a lot of years creating the perfect bottom contact power finesse rod, specifically designed to fish 3/8 to 3/4 ounce football jigs, tubes, swing heads, dragging a swim bait on the bottom, and any bait that you need to manipulate with your hand and land that fish. This rod is perfect for it. The big thing that we found that was an issue with other rods is they were either too crisp and sensitive, where they were too fast, or they weren't quite sensitive enough and they had the right action. So what Dane built with this rod is the most sensitive bottom contact rod I've ever held in my hands. But the big thing is, on a long cast, it's got the power to drive that hook home, but more importantly, it's got a parabolic action that's going to bend deep down in the rod to make sure that, let's say, football jig or goby tube isn't popping that smallmouth's mouth open and keeping that bait in the back of their head where it belongs, allowing you to have increased leverage and landing more bass. You're going to have to pry this rod from my cold dead hands. This is the Puppet Master. You can find it on VocelkaFishing.com or at Waypoint Angler Supply. Check them out.
Standing straight out, and so it's like a bigger ball of fluff in the water. It has more. I mean, I think they have more action. And then I added the hackle feathers to it too, to just like add just more action, look like appendages on a bug, crayfish claws.
So like what I'll do, so you got your marabou feather, right? And I'll like cut the stem, and I'll cut it like V's, like V pieces like that, and that's what I'll use, you know, around that jig. Is that what you're talking, or are you talking like a jig skirt where it's going out
I
the
literally,
top end?
yeah, like so I literally take and I wrap the base of the feather, you know, probably like 10 wraps of hair. So the stem, well, I can't even describe it, you know, like maybe 1/8 of an inch of feather. I grab the very tip of the feather, and then with the vise I spin it.
Oh,
so
really?
It spins and wraps all the way around.
Okay.
And so it's a faster way to tie, but I also too have to be like really picky with the feathers that I use. So I probably end up throwing away like 1/2 to 2/3 of the marabou that I buy.
I remember you telling me that, and I guess what do you look for in a good feather?
It is just like more like the individual quills are nice and consistent. Like they're not as kind of like webby or fluffy at the bottom. Like the tips are almost wispy.
Okay.
And then like to give it even more detail, how I do it is that I even take and like you lay the feathers out, like let's say that one feather's this big, one feather's that big, and then one's smaller. I lay the longer quills on the bottom, and so like it even makes them stand out even more. So the whole thing is just to get as much like body and volume out of those feathers.
Well, there's guys that say you can have too much hair in a jig or too little. I guess do you guys have theories on that? You pull some out or no?
There's definitely a right amount. I kind of like mine fluffy. You got me thinking now, like I've been tying my jigs wrong the whole time. It's that wrapping up, like it takes me 20 minutes, 20 to 25 minutes to tie a jig, and I pull the marabou off and I trim it with a scissors, and then so you tie on a little, and it's around the jig like twice. And I don't
know. We'll just watch them do it once.
I'll tell you too how to cut it too, to like so you can get different sizes.
No, we're leaving this in.
Leaving this in?
Yeah, we're not going to cut it.
Oh man.
Oh, you meant the feathers.
The feather, like so you can take from the bottom of the feather, and like you can like the stem, like so it's like a leaf. It's like if you want to make a more compact jig, you just cut further up the feather that way. So you're actually like trimming those quills, then you wrap those loose ones, and then the rest of them. So I can make a marabou that's tiny, but it's just the size that I sell has just honestly been kind of the most consistent fish catcher.
Sure. It's crazy.
Do you go find that housekeeper and see if she's got any feathers from fluffing pillows and stuff?
Yeah, do you find any vices? Any vice and feathers? But No, we'll do another one. We're gonna do an arts and crafts episode sometime, Ronnestrand. That'd be great. So one of the best, coolest stories I've heard about Sturgeon Bay was about Scott Bonema. My buddy James was fishing Sturgeon Bay, and they're in the flotilla in Little Sturgeon. No one's catching nothing, and all of a sudden Scott rolls in, zigzagging boats, zigzagging, gets to where he needs to go, puts his poles down, makes a cast, sets his rod down. And James said he caught a bass every single cast, but he said he never saw him move his lure once. So he said that Scott must have made 12 casts by the time James had made 50 casts, and Scott caught one every cast. And so James made a joke with his partner in the back. He's like, I'm not going to move my bait till Scott moves his bait. Sure. Oh, I got one.
Really?
Just absolutely dead sticking it, right? So I wanted to dig into that. Did you show Scott that, or did he figure that out himself? Because Quartzy didn't show it to him.
That was his deal. That's, I mean, that
was a sneaky
there are
deal.
some times that you can dead stick it, but I don't think I could do it that long.
That's just it.
It takes patience.
But
as long as you know, where they're sitting, you can do that.
Well, you think about it. There's 100 boats sitting there, and they're seeing 100. They've got a freaking sonar, ping, 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 lures moving everywhere. That makes sense when that would work, right?
Yeah.
But
That's how we had our beginner's luck out there.
dead
'Cause
sticking.
I had a friend that owned the restaurant out on Riley Point, and when we started bass fishing, he's like, I'll talk about it now because it hasn't been nearly as good for a lot of years. But he's like, you take a Kalen's grub on a 3/32 ounce jig, and you cast it out there, and you don't move it. And he was just like, don't move it, you'll catch them. And so we went out and tried it, and it was hard to not move it. It's just I'm in the right spot, but it just didn't have a lot of confidence in it. And I actually remember my big aha moment I had so little bass experience at this point, what to do. So I was using 8-pound mono for line or whatever. Yeah, exactly. 2 figure eights after every cast. Got to go high on the outside turn. Pause.
Big 8, little 8.
So I remember I threw a cast and let it was leaving it sit there, and I had a wind knot, and I grabbed it and I broke the wind knot. So then I tied a quick double uni, clipped the end, fish was on.
No way.
And then that was, but I would honestly have to say dead sticking a grub or a tube is how we've caught almost all of our really, really, really big bass out there.
Interesting.
That's how I catch mine too.
Right.
I'm actually, when it looks like I'm turning the handle, I'm
He's
really
not.
not.
He's back reeling.
Yeah, he's air guitaring that reel all the
Well,
way.
that's I've fished around Adam for so many years, and it's just he makes it look so easy, and you watch him fish, and it's just everything that he does is just kind of just the opposite of how I've done it, and it's just God dang it.
It's what you call el natural.
And then it got even better when I gave Benny a couple hair jigs, and they pulled up because I'm kind of a tackle junkie, and I think color can be a really big deal out there, and I literally we pull up boats, and I give Benny a couple of ginger olive marabous, and he opens up his box, and he's got 3 jig heads, 2 tubes, a Ned, and the 2 hair jigs. He just puts them on. He's like, all right, see you at weigh-in, boys. I'm just God.
Well, to be honest with you, I think everybody thinks they need to throw a black hair jig, and you're kind of the first guy who told me, about some of those other colors. And Sturgeon Bay makes perfect sense, but I guess we're going to let out a little juice here, and hopefully you tied enough at Thorne Brothers for the folks at home. But ginger olives, so a lighter colored hair jig.
Yep, that's always since I can't even remember why I even ended up tying that color. I heard about some light browns doing well, so I went home and I spun that up, and it was right after the open, and then came back up, and we just crushed with it. And then the next year we did really well with it, and then I just put it into the line, I guess, to sell. But it was crazy for me. For the longest time, it worked so well with like overcast conditions. It worked well when it was sunny. It caught him really well. But I guess the only time I really lean heavy on like a really dark marabou or like a black one is if it's like a real heavy overcast or the water's got a lot of color to it.
Sure. And I was going to ask you about tube colors too, because I've always been like, I always throw more green pumpkin when it's sunny, and I've done really well on a smoked purple tube when it's cloudy for some reason. But like you talked to like your jerkbait theory, that's like wrong, right? Because you want more translucent when it's sunny, more matte when it's cloudy. I guess you have kind of a rule of thumb on that
For a tube?
Yeah.
I guess I'd say like cloudier, dirtier waters when you want like a green pumpkin, and then clear water, sunny. That's when you want to have like more of an amber or brown.
So I have been doing it wrong. They still eat it.
I didn't know they ate anything other than a black marabou jig. That's I throw one color.
Olive.
I throw one color. That's it. Black with a little purple.
They get sick of that thing yet out there?
You probably throw a hair jig more than I do nowadays, but like, I definitely don't think I catch as many as I used to on it.
Yeah.
But I think the lake's changing too.
Sure.
It seems like there's still windows when it's really good.
Yeah.
Though, like, and it does seem like they get a little bit more finicky. Like now that we can fish for them so early out there, it seems like you can get them on some really big black hair jigs like right away. Mm-hmm. And then it just seems like the more and more fishing pressure that shows up, or the more the fishermen fish for, like they just get a little bit more picky.
Do you catch them when it's like the water's in the 40s on a hair jig? Or do you have I have a temper, like when I see it hit 52 degrees, then I'll pick a hair jig up.
I like bucktail jigs from when like cold to about 55 degrees, and then 55 and warmer I like the marabous.
Interesting. You tie buck too?
I do. I'd love to tie and sell bucktails, but they'd be too expensive, and nobody would want to pay for it just because you use so much deer hair to tie a jig this big.
Bucktail's expensive, and it's there's a lot less room for error, it seems like. Like especially on a little jig like that, like you tie it on a half-ounce chicken head, like you can screw up 6 hairs or whatever on each side and it'll be fine. But on that little dainty thing, I mean, you got to almost tie it perfect to get it to probably sit right.
I have
shit's buoyant.
I will say though that sometimes the marabous do work in the cold water, because my buddy Buzz, who I fish with a lot out there, like he's a good fisherman, but he doesn't fish a lot, and it's just like, oh, look at my bucktails that I have like so much time into, and be like, you get a marabou.
Do you fish that bucktail the same way as you would marabou, or more?
Pretty similar.
Sure. So like what I learned with Sturgeon Bay is like it's a light switch. Like you put in at Sawyer Harbor in the morning, it's a ghost town, and you got to go take a shit at 1 p.m. and holy smokes, like they move up to spawn like that. But like little sturgeon, like what kind of stuff do you guys key in on when you're looking at, because it seems like they'll use a little 6-inch bottom change, they'll use a little boulder that's like not that big.
I usually look for cedar trees.
Really?
Yeah, just go to the cedars. That's where every tournament gets won out there.
I don't know.
No, they're like smallmouths love bass in general. They like little ditches and depressions and transitions. So it might be bigger rock to smaller rock, or rock to sand, or a depression in a flat that might be, like you said, 4 or 6 inches deeper than everything else. And like that's the littlest things, like that's where they will set up and sit.
Especially pre-spawn, it seems like just have just a gangbang.
Yeah, like they'll all just be sitting in a, there might be a depression that's the size of 2 bass boats, and you can sit there and cast in there every cast for 2 hours and catch one on every cast. Like there's hundreds of them in these tiny little spots, and a lot of people just they seem to just like they don't pay attention to any of that, and they just fish through. And I'm always paying attention to the little things when I'm up there.
I'll never forget like when I very first got mega side imaging. When we were driving down on the north shore, east side of Little Sturgeon, I drove by just one of these little ditches on shore, and I looked over and just like, can't be that many fish there. So I drove by it, and we went and fished a couple more spots, and like we caught a few, but it wasn't great. And I'm like, well, let's go back up to that ditch, and we literally threw in there, caught one, and just pulled down, and just had the best day of smallmouth fishing of my life.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they stick out so good, and that when they're in the more sand, like on the flats, like just sit there on spot lock and stare at 360, and you just watch the pods of them coming through. And
well, I missed the boat the first time I went there. I wish I would. When I went on Google Earth before the second time, I'm like, oh, like what are those old shipping channels or something they dig out?
There's, I mean,
like something's dredged by a human being.
I think they're just old docks. I mean, just so people could get their boats into their docks, probably.
Yeah, because everything's so flat going up to shore so they dredge out, till you get out to like 5 foot of water. It's all dredged out, and there's actually a lane going to where somebody's dock is or was. And yeah, they love those things. They get in those little ditches, and just it's unreal how many bass you'll see in some of those.
Oh, it's crazy. But like you get too close, and you can't catch none of them.
Yeah.
So do you how you throw a 12-foot rod and like
I just throw like 7-footer, but
you get away from them.
Like I use 8-pound braid with a fluoro leader, and I'm a lot of days it's casting contest. I mean, you gotta outcast everybody else.
Sure, makes sense.
And like if you notice, like most of your bites come in the first 10 to 20 feet of your cast, and you might as well just reel it in, because they do get spooky with that clear water, and you gotta stay off of them. They don't like it when you get close.
That's sort of, like I got kind of lucky going out there, like with Thorne Brothers having the custom rod shop. It's just like I had 8-foot heavies, 8-foot medium heavies, 8-foot medium lights, 8-foot lights, all for just making those really long casts. And then I was always a big fan of like the big, like when the Tatula LT spinning reel came out, it was like a super light but big spinning reel with that big spool. You could just cast a smile, and that made such a big difference for us.
Yeah, that's where we tested Dane's hair jig rod. The Vocelka was Sturgeon Bay, and that's, I mean, if you can get that thing a little bit further, it's amazing how many more bites you get throughout just a day. And I've learned so many things just a couple times I've been to Sturgeon Bay. But I was talking to Shuta, a while back, who's a really good bed fisherman, and JP and I were in Florida one time on the Stick Marsh, and I remember we watched this guy pull up to a bed fishing area up on the flat from us in Florida. We were doing the speedworm chatterbuggy thing out from him, and he pulls down and just sits in the cockpit for 2 hours, doesn't make a cast. Like 2 hours later, he gets up, makes one cast, hooks like a 10-pounder, loses it by the boat, gets back in the driver's seat, starts the outboard, fucking leaves. All I could think of is like he knew there's a big fish that was going to pull up on this bed, had probably done this a time or two, and realized that he needed to be a floating hyacinth mat for 2 hours before he casted at it. I guess I was going to ask you, because Sturgeon Bay, they're all spooky and whatnot. Do you like put the poles down and let them kind of get used to you? Do you think that makes a difference?
At times, yeah. I mean, I'm not a patient person, so it's not too many times you see me just sitting in one spot, unless there's a giant school of them sitting there, like I keep moving around. But it definitely, like, you notice, like, if you find a bunch and your boat's there and they know you're there, like, it can get better after a little while once they kind of get used to it. But sometimes they'll just pack up and leave too. It's one of the strangest fisheries that I've ever, like, there's so many little details and crazy things that happen, and like now it's changed even more in the last couple of years. Like there's more smelt now.
Okay.
Everybody's like, oh, the bass population is not what it was. Like they're all dead, and you know, we need to ban tournaments. They're killing all the bass and whatever. It's, if you fish the same way you fished 10 years or 20 years ago, you're not going to catch them now. It's changed that much. And they randomly show up on stuff too. Like it's like on the flats. I think it was 2 years ago. Like you couldn't hardly catch a bass on the flats, and the water temperature was right. Like those fish like live there in the springtime. They're always somewhere on the flats, and there was hardly any bass up there. And then it was like June, and all of a sudden they all showed up, and there was a bed every 10 feet, like thousands of them. Like they just showed up, and I think they're more pelagic now, and they sit out and roam around and eat smelt, and then like when it's time to go do their thing, then they show up. It's
interesting.
Last year in the Open, I was fishing up north on the second day, and Sam and I were trying to figure out what we were going to do because we kind of sucked it up the first day. And I'm like, I got an idea. I know where we're going to go and catch them. And then I started second guessing myself, and this is at 1 a.m. after like 29 bush lights. I'm like, I got an idea. I know how it's going to go down. And the next morning he's like, all right, so what are we doing? I'm like, well, we were going to go up north, but I don't think that's a good idea. So I'm like, let's just go down south and catch some betters. And he's like, you know what? Screw this. Like, this is supposed to be fun. Let's go up north and like catch a bunch of bass. He's like, I don't get that much time to fish. We have nothing to lose. I'm like, all right. So we went up north, and I pulled up on this flat that a lot of big ones spawn on. And dude, I've never seen anything like it. Like schools of them the size of a football field, and we're in like 4 feet of water. You can see everything, and it was pretty clear. Schools like that pulling up on this flat, and then I don't know how many bass we caught that day, but we smashed them all day long. So I went up there a few days later guiding, and the water was still warm. Like the wind hadn't changed or anything. Everything kind of stayed the same. I went up there, and like there were like 20 bass on the flat. Like they're gone. They never came back all year. Never caught them around that area. So like I saw with my own eyes like several thousand smallmouths come up, and I never saw them again. And they don't. That's an area where they kind of live. That's where they can't go anywhere else.
Like up by Ephraim?
Yeah.
He just makes good decisions naturally.
Naturally.
It's
Yeah.
like it just comes so easy to him.
But like seeing stuff like that, like I know that another example of, several years ago in the fall, I was fishing up by like Death's Door area. It's really good up there in the fall when the water cools off and they all start stacking up. And I mean, crushed like 4 to 6 pounders one afternoon. I looked at the weather, and the weather wasn't going to change, so I called somebody up that needed to come catch some big smallmouths with me, and I'm like, get up here, it's going to be good tomorrow. And we went up, and they were all gone. Like, they left. There was no reason for them to leave. The current didn't change, temperatures didn't change, wind didn't change. There's no reason for them to leave, and they were all gone. Like, I see that stuff happen way too much, that I know how many bass are in the bay, and there's a lot of them. It's just, it's got to be something with like the forage where they're way more nomadic, pelagic than they used to be.
Because there's like a baby crawfish deal that's goes down in the spring, right? It's less of a goby thing, and then they get on gobies like more in the summer, right? Maybe not. I don't know.
I think in the spring too.
Okay. Yeah.
That's I've often thought like the ginger olive hair jig thing could be like a crawfish connection.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's why sometimes I thought that's been so good.
That makes perfect sense. And the baby tube thing, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
I guess we've got a few lakes with smelt in Minnesota, like Pokegama, and then they got some up in northern Wisconsin. So I've learned the hard way about them smelt, and that definitely seems like I definitely like to fish some smelt fish on a cloudy day a lot better than a sunny day, I guess. Have you found that to be similar?
No. I
Okay.
would hands down rather fish smallmouth when the sun's out anywhere I go in the country.
Well, that's fair.
I just like that. I just catch them better when it's sunny, it seems like.
They smelt just don't seem to be as grouped up when it's sunny for whatever reason. They seem to be more spread out. Now, I'm no pelagic baitfish expert by any means, but Pokegama, it seemed like you get a cloudy day, they get on that smelt bite. A sunny day, you're going to probably deal with perch, crawfish bite, and everything's
Yeah.
so close to each other on Pokegama that they don't need to swim far for any of it. But interesting. And then the alewives, they got alewives, right? That's
Yeah.
a big one. That's like a smaller Cisco, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it kind of looks like a shad. You know, it's just a...
Looks like a little blade bait.
Yeah. I mean, they vary in size. 'Cause I see a lot of them when I'm cleaning salmon out on the salmon boat. And, you know, they might be 3 inches long, and then I've seen some like days that you're cutting fish open and like all the alewives are like 8 to 10 inches long.
Huh. I'm just wondering, like, they pull in, they eat some crayfish, and then eat all the crayfish. So like, fuck it, I'm out. I'm gonna go eat some smelt out where Adam can't find me.
Well, yeah, that's the bay is so massive. Like, where do you start? Like, yeah, I'd love to go out and scope around and try to figure out how to catch them. It'd be impossible. There's too much water that they could go to.
That's just it.
I've done some open water fishing for muskies, like right off of Henderson's, and caught a few just trolling around. But you get out there, and it's just like, it's balls of bait for as far as the eye can see. So it's just like, where do you start?
That I don't know. I don't know, man.
It's-
Green Bay is huge, and I guess that's another question. You have some rules or some boundaries for like that tournament and whatnot. I guess, how far have you seen it deviated from like your standard areas where people are successful? Like, you see anybody run south? And like, I've heard about some people running south of Little and doing good, and then you hear about Gussie making a gut shot call on day 2, running up to Egg Harbor after he just blasted them in one of the main bays and blasted them up in Egg Harbor.
Yeah, it like the full boundaries, like, so it's Shador's Dock, which is probably 10 or 12 miles south of Little Sturgeon. That's the southern boundary, and then we can go all the way to Gills Rock, which is on the tip of the peninsula, and that's, you know, 40 miles north of Sturgeon Bay. And it could go down anywhere in between. Typically, as long as they haven't spawned down south, it's impossible to win it anywhere else, because those fish in Riley's, Little Sturgeon, Sand, like, they're a different caliber. They're so big. But once they get on beds, you know, then you're catching the males, and the females are gone. So then it definitely changed. Like, then you have a chance up north more where normally you wouldn't, and that's kind of what went down last year. The guys won it up north. They fished up there both days too, I believe, which that's the first time it's been won up north
In years.
as long as I've been fishing it. It's never been strictly won up north.
Makes sense with, like, different spawning windows.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I mean, it's That's the cool thing there too. Like if you like just catching pre-spawners, like you can follow that bite up the peninsula.
Cool. Yeah.
You know, and it's like that's typically what I do. I don't like catching them when I got to look at them. Like it's just me.
I'm with you there.
I don't want to bed fish. If I'm guiding, I definitely don't want to bed fish.
As anglers, we develop special bonds with our equipment. There's something magical when you find that perfect jig rod and reel combo for a technique that elevates your confidence on the water. Whether it's a perfectly balanced, crisp, and sensitive jig rod that gives you the highest level of control over your bait, allows you to feel every grain of sand, every bite, and allows you to drive that hook clean, or a rod with the perfect action and taper that seems to keep your chatterbait, swim bait, or whatever it is in the back of the bass's head where it belongs no matter where you throw it, or a rod that allows you to effortlessly cast a lighter bait you used to cuss at on your old combo. These types of magical bonds are rare to find in a mass-produced sweatshop, which is why Vocelka Fishing and Customs came to existence, with the sole purpose of bringing you closer to your passion by enhancing the bond with you, your rod, and the bass. Confidence is everything in bass fishing, and there's no bigger boner buster than losing a big fish, not feeling like you can present your bait correctly. The list goes on and on. Mr. Vocelka is a full-blown artesian craftsman who can build you the perfect rod, no matter the size or action, custom, exactly the way you want it. He also has a wide variety to choose from right on his website, including fan favorites like the 8-foot hair jig rod, the drop shot rod, swim bait rod, the chatter chicken rod, the MH workhorse, and more. Even ice fishing. You do the whole frozen Swiss cheese thing, the ice fishing. Seen grumpy old men? Well, you can send that jiggle stick back to the antique store because Mr. Vocelka builds custom ice rods in all sizes and actions too. So head on over to his website, vocelkafishing.com. That's VOCELKA fishing.com to enhance your confidence on the water, feel your passion, and catch more bass, baby.
Like, you gotta know how to cast, and there's a lot of people that can't cast.
You gotta hit a crater this big. And
Yeah. So like I always try to follow like the pre-spawn deal all the way up the peninsula. And when I get all the way up and they start spawning, then I go back down to Little Sturgeon and then follow like the post-spawn deal all the way up.
Dude, you were in paradise over there, dude. I had a question, and I forgot it because I have to pee. I'll be right back. You guys carry on.
I just want to go smallmouth fishing.
I hear you. I always imagined that you figured out the tube thing with like one of your guests. You're just like, here, because like I know like the kind of guys you guys get.
Yeah.
It's just like you're like, all right, you get this rod, you get this, and just by the time this guy's already just wham.
Yeah, no, that was like the only reason I started reeling it, because I'm like, man, I don't want to like I know where they're sitting. I don't want to just keep drifting over them. So then I just stand on the trolling motor, and no matter what the conditions, and cast it and reel it.
No, that's I mean,
It's crazy how like the weight of the head, like day to day, like it all, the speed, everything changes, and like you got to refigure it out every day. But once you figure it out, then it's game over.
And that bite is like the most intense, like hardest bite that I think I've ever had a smallmouth hit a lure to.
Yeah, there's bonk, bonk. It's so much fun.
Why do they get so big in sturgeon and not the other spots? Like, why are they bigger in those three bays? That's what I was going to ask.
They've gotten bigger up in like little sturgeon, or excuse me, big sturgeon now.
Okay.
Like there's definitely been some 7-pounders caught in the open off the flat the last couple of years.
Well, didn't it used to like kind of go down in big sturgeon prior? Like I heard it used to like in front of them lion statues in
Not-
Sawyer Harbor. Like
Not as long as, I mean, Adam's been fishing it longer than I have, but I don't ever remember. Like, I always remember being able to like catch a lot of fish up on the flat. You know, maybe get a 5-pounder here or there, but it's. I don't ever remember hearing any, like, kind of like the people that I talked to were always like, you can catch them on the flat, you'll never win on the flat. Was kind of like the
cash check maybe.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. Like it's always, the flats have always been like that's where I would go. You know, if we went and found some bass, found the right ones, and I'd just drive to the flats and just go crucify the 2 to 3 pounders. Like, just go have fun.
Where you went to just have a blast. Or for me, it was like go down, get, you know, like maybe catch a few fish, get frustrated down south, and be like, all right, let's go have fun the rest of the afternoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, or yeah, if it's a tough day and like you're not getting a lot of bites and you're pre-fishing, like, all right, I'm just gonna go to the flats and just set the hook on a bunch. And that's the way it's always. I think it's kind of always been like that. It's always been smaller ones, and then the last few years, it's been definitely showing out a lot more big fish. Like, I've caught numerous like over 7s on the flats the last probably 3 years.
Well, like, why don't you see those genetics like in Big Bay to Knock, or, you know, like, why is that little section of Door County, like, what is in the water right there that makes an 8 and 7 versus 4 and 5? Just like the average size seems to be bigger. Maybe that's like the Christopher Columbus area of, you know, and that's the daddy area. That's where it all came from, mate. That's all I could think of.
Maybe it could be like the diversity of their diet or something like that, where they just have so many different things to eat that they're always eating. Between the smelt, the gobies, the crayfish, like, they just always have stuff to eat. I mean, those fish are the fish are just different. So, like, we go and I fish out in Sturgeon Bay, and then, like, if I'm lucky, I'll get a chance to fish Mille Lacs, like, right after for a couple of weeks. And it's like, it's awesome. I love going to Mille Lacs, and like, you'll catch a fish that seems like it's a similar caliber, like in dimensions, to what you caught in Sturgeon Bay, and you put it on a scale and it's like 525. You know, like, this should be like way over 6. You know, it's just, they're just a thicker.
They're made different.
Yep.
It seems.
Absolutely. Well, Door County, what is it, apple trees they got there? What's like
cherries?
Oh, cherries. Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe it's all the cherries. Yeah.
Could be. I don't know why. I don't know why they're so much bigger, like, in those 4 bays now. It used to just be 3. I don't know why. It has, like you said, it has to be something with, like, their diet. Like, I think there's more crayfish down there than there are up north, so maybe that has something to do with it. Hard to say.
It is hard to say. I've heard people say, like, a smallmouth only gets so big and they don't eat crayfish anymore, but I like.
It seems like every big one you put in a live well, there's all these crayfish parts.
Yeah,
in
like,
yeah,
I don't know if I buy it, but
you put a 30 sock in the live well and you open it up, there's like 5 pounds of crayfish parts in the bottom of your live well at the end of the day.
Well, I had a pound of them yesterday, so I understand why them bastards like them, because they're pretty damn good. Crazy. And, dude, I want to hear about the, like, going pro, like, and that is a hard road. And I think, like, you've had more success than most people that have tried, and I think you've probably felt beaten down by that journey, just like everybody does. But, like, talk to me about, like, what it's been like getting into that, and just some of the challenges that people maybe don't understand or wouldn't see from the outside looking in.
Yeah, so I just, like, started out just, like, a quick background on, like, my whole life. So when I was going to high school, all Adam did was fish and kill shit. That's all I cared about. Like, so I kind of knew that I wanted to fish for a living. But being from the north, like, at that time, you know, I'm 40, so that was a long time ago. Kevin Van Dam was probably the only guy from the north that, like, fished on the Elite Series. Like, You didn't do that. Like,
And that screaming guy.
yeah.
Guy who screams.
You know, and I watched Bassmaster and stuff when I was a kid growing up, and it's like, man, that's so cool. But like, that was never even a thought to ever fish down south. I'm like, I'm just gonna guide, and I started out guiding for walleyes and muskies, and I was part-time, and I worked at Gander Mountain up in Wausau, Wisconsin, and eventually I got busy enough. I'm like, you know what, screw it, like, I'm gonna quit my job, guide full-time. Then I just kind of got sick of fishing around there and moved to Sturgeon Bay eventually. But I always found myself, like, if I had a day off and I was going to go fish for fun, I went bass fishing. I never guided for them until I moved to Sturgeon Bay. Like, I went bass fishing, fished some little local club derbies, and won quite a few of them. Like, I was actually okay at it. And then for whatever reason, like 2021, I decided to jump in some opens, and I fished a couple. That was when there were 3 divisions, 3 tournaments in each division. So I hopped in 2 divisions, cashed a few checks, did all right. I'm like, all right, this isn't really fish or fish. Like, they eat, spawn, and swim. Like, that's the
They're
3
just
things.
like me.
That's the 3 things they do. Like, so I also learned that it's like a lot harder in the South. Like, they get fished for year round. They're a lot smarter. I never used to think that fish could get smart. I was never a person to believe that, but now I'm learning more things and techniques and lures, and like, fish are way smarter than I think we give them credit for sometimes. And how many fish like could be in a lake that you don't even know about? You know, and technology has showed us that.
It's crazy how bad we are. Like, when Live Scope shows you one thing, it's how bad you suck. That's for sure.
Yeah, like, oh yeah, there's another one right there. Oh, there's another one. Like, I would have swore there wasn't a bass over here. So like, I started on this journey in 2021, and in 2022 I was like more hungry to do it. So like, the guiding started to become less and less, and more traveling tournaments. And then in 23 I won Wheeler Lake, and I was so pissed that year because Wheeler was during the Sturgeon Bay Open, and the Sturgeon Bay Open is my favorite tournament. That 2 weeks in May when we have 2 big tournaments, that's my favorite time of the year. I just want to be at home, drinking with the boys, partying, doing stupid stuff, and then go out and catch a bunch of giant smallmouths and get a chance to win some money on top of it. So I'm like, really, like, I got to go to Wheeler Lake, and my season wasn't very good. I think we had already fished 4 events, and like, I hadn't cashed a check, or I was gonna skip Wheeler. And I fished the Wisco the weekend before. I had my dad drive me to Wheeler so I could sleep that night. Like, literally got done fishing the tournament, went and threw the rest of the stuff in the boat that I needed to go largemouth fishing, and went down there, had 2 days of practice. That was terrible, didn't catch them. But I looked around the lake enough and kind of had an idea of, I'm like, this is where they're going. I just hope they show up in time. And ended up catching them the first 2 days, made the final day cut, and I think I was in like 7th or 8th. Didn't really think I had a chance of winning it. And that morning, I landed on a shad spawn deal, and they were all big ones. And I remember I caught a 5.5 pounder at 8:09. I set it in the live well, and I went up on the front deck, and like started crying. I'm like, I'm going to the Classic.
You cried?
Yeah.
I didn't know you had that.
Yeah,
in
I
you.
get a little emotional once in a while.
That's wonderful, man. I'm just happy you're not holding that in. It's
Yeah.
sad for you.
It's yeah, I remember it like it happened yesterday. I'm like, I'm going to the Classic. And then like 2 hours later, I'm like, oh shit, like you're gonna fuck this up. Like I haven't had a bite since 8:09. That was the last bass I caught. I never caught one the rest of the day. So then I started panicking a little, and I'm watching Polinick like cream him. And I'm like, man, this is not good. Like other guys are catching them. It's late in the day. Sure enough, I had enough to win. So then I got to go to the Classic. And then that's like confirmed it. Like, this is what I want to do for a living till I die. Like, I don't want to guide as much. I want to take my good customers that I enjoy fishing with. And it's the most humbling, frustrating sport there is. I mean, I've been gone for 4 weeks. I'm going to be gone for another 4 weeks till I actually go home and see my family. So it's a lot of time being gone. But you get broke down, shoved down, beat down, whatever. Like I've had some terrible finishes. I've had some really good success. You know, almost winning the Classic. Like never thought that was going to happen. But it's like an adrenaline rush for me. Like I keep working as hard as I can to have another one of those Wheeler moments or Classic moments, you know. That's what keeps pushing me.
Dude, it's a drug.
It is,
when you feel
100%,
that, when you feel what you were talking about, crying on the deck, like,
yeah,
that is once you feel that, I mean, that's it's over, dude.
Yeah, and my wife understands how I feel, which is great because that makes it's not just me. Like, she has to sacrifice everything. She doesn't get to go do anything. Like, she's at home with 2 kids and.
Dude, she's fucking cool, just so you know.
Yeah.
I had a few beers with her last year. Like,
oh, yeah, like.
Yeah, I can tell you're a good decision
She ain't
maker.
afraid to beat somebody's ass either. Like,
oh, I'd let her. Yeah, I wouldn't fight her. No, not built for jail, dude. No way. No way.
But it's like, it was kind of a team effort going into all this. And last year, like, dude, after the Classic, like after being that close to winning the biggest tournament in the world, like I was a wreck for till probably October. Like
after the Classic,
I made stupid decisions, and I'm like, I'm not cut out for this. I'm not good enough. And finally, like, she jacked my ass pretty hard one night, and she's like, dude, get your shit together. Like, you're not quitting. Like, we're too invested in this. Like, this is what you want to do. So get your shit together and actually start trying to get back to the Classic, you know? So it took me like 6 months before I finally got it back in my head that, all right, like, it's not so bad. You almost won. Like, you know how many people would give their left arm to go to the Classic? Period.
cut it off right now.
Much less like take second.
Just take it.
Yeah.
I'll go.
So
Fish it one-armed, like that one guy.
it was kind of funny. So at the Sturgeon Bay Open, when he won Wheeler, one of our friends, Scott Richards, came up at the weigh, and he's just, hey, you see this? He's like, Adam won. And we both looked at each other and we're like, no, he's probably gonna have a good chance of winning the Classic. Like, we knew it. Like,
I was pulling for you,
the
man.
dude is like mentally tough and like super just level and consistent, and like that's a weapon. Just to not be, just nothing rattles him. Like, I'm like, that actually is like, I mean, it doesn't surprise me, but it surprises me a little bit. Like, he's the same every day, just the same. And I think that's like a strength of everybody who's really, really good at tournament fishing.
I mean, I wish I had, like, you know, I think I'll be more level-headed every year till I, you know, don't become a pissed off whatever I am anymore. But like Easton Fothergill's that way. Like,
Oh,
he's just like you, man.
He
All the
doesn't
best
get
fishermen I know.
excited. And like, I know when I'm going to do well in a tournament and when I'm not going to, like, because if I start getting a little bit excited and stuff like that, don't even go because it's.
Okay.
If I get excited, it's a train wreck. Like,
I mean, you can't tell me you weren't a little excited for Pelican Lake.
oh, that was.
Like,
Yeah,
come on, man.
that was.
like
I forgot about that one.
you forgot about your big weight record.
Set the record.
You're probably unthronable. Like you're probably
Wasn't it like 260 pounds?
260 pounds.
248.
I took fifth place.
248.7.
I took
My wife
fifth
got
place
me
with
this
90 pounds.
Wallet and 248 pounds. So she gives me this for Christmas.
Wait, what wallet is that? Holy
It's just
shit!
got a bass on. You got the same one.
Oh
Look
my
at that.
god! There's no 248 pounds on it though. It says 0.
She put my initials on there and 248 pounds. I'm looking at it and I'm like, wow, like, the hell did you put my weight on here for? Like, I know I've been getting fat, but.
How much does yours have?
And
in
she's
it?
like,
I think
Mine's got nothing.
she
I'll
goes,
trade you.
she's like, you dumbass, that's the weight you set the record with. And I'm like, oh, like, yeah, that's cool, thank you, you know.
Dude, is that lake not just?
That was
I feel like we
crazy.
should have the championship out there every year till the end of time.
I don't think you guys should ever go back there because that's probably the only lake that it could get beat.
Fair. Like, you're probably right. I went back, like, practice leading up to that event, fishing was better than the tournament. Like, that lake current, when you had a consistent wind blowing the one direction, I actually thought the bite was a little stingy for me anyway, tournament day. Obviously, I was not throwing a Ned rig or something.
I just found the two magic
Oh,
rock
you're on
piles.
it.
Like,
Yeah.
it was funny, too, like, that time. Everybody, like, I side imaged the whole entire lake. I
Same.
found every little rock pile there was. Like, I spent the whole week with my motor trimmed up, and everybody's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I saw a big giant boulder the first day I was here, and I'm scared shitless to run around this lake. I'm, like, just driving around, graphing everything, and, yeah, and I picked what I thought was the best rock pile, and there's another one like 100 yards away. I'm like, I'm gonna go start here, and I lived there for the first whole period. And then I went back. I caught them all on a jackhammer the first period. I went back and picked up spinning pole with a Ned rig, and I think I caught them all again.
I think that's
like all the
totally
same
what
ones
happened.
again.
Yeah, you caught the same school twice.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was out, like, I've never been to a lake where you cast and they set the hook on themselves for a fucking half hour. Have you ever fished there, Lou?
I haven't, but I'd heard that you had caught fish on, like, were they basically like rock piles in the middle of weed beds?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the juice on vermilion for the largemouth, and I'd heard about that. I was like, oh, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it's kind of like any, like, Canadian shit. Like, when you get to that part of Minnesota and Canada, like, if you find rocks in the grass, like, that is money.
I had that flat on the north end. I found 3 freaking rock piles in there. I thought I was going to have them to myself. And Shane and Peters must have paid somebody to find those, you bastards, because I had to leapfrog. I told myself, like, if I wouldn't have had to split those 3 rock piles with those 2, I might have got second in that bastard. But, yeah, that's a fun bite. That's a fun lake. I've never seen anything like that. But you're not fishing Champs Tour, right?
No,
You're on a waiting list now if you want to.
Too many conflicts with the Opens. Obviously, like, my number 1 goal is to make the Elite Series. You know, number 2 goal is to go back to the Classic, and it's kind of where I've, like, just put myself. You know, like, this year you only have to fish 1 division, 4 tournaments to make a top 50 and go to the EQs. I'm doing both, so I have a backup in case the guys are so good in these Opens, like, if you have a bad day, it can wreck your whole year.
Dude,
you know, bad tournament too. Like, and this year has not been going very well. Like, I have in the Division 2, I have like a 77th and a 120, and I only have 2 more tournaments. I'm in like 70th for points. Like, I still just have to have 2 good tournaments, but I don't want to rely just on that. Like, you know,
Yeah.
I screwed up that 120th tournaments. Like, that's not good. You can live with a 70th. You get one of those, you're okay. But You know, and that's just to make a top 50. And that's 235 boats. So if you think about it, look at the Elite Series guys. There's 100 boats. Boat 50 gets a check. I'm like, that's the cut line. That's half the field. 120th is half the field. Like, it looks so terrible, but it's actually not a terrible tournament. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's you beat half the field.
You get paid. Yeah.
And yeah, but we don't get
Not
paid.
the opens.
It's 45th, and it's so hard to. There's so many good anglers. It's not easy just to cash checks either. And that's
It's
like,
so
I think
hard.
that's the one thing that drives me nuts, and it gets in my head where I'm like, if you look at my stats, they look terrible. Like, I've fished so many tournaments, I've only made so many checks, but because I've won 2 bass events and that classic, like, the money I've made is better than if I would have cashed a check in every one of those tournaments.
Yeah,
You know,
From the-
because a check's $4,000, $4,500.
yeah. Right.
From the way outside looking in, I'd rather have the 2 wins.
100%. 100%. Look at Hank Cherry. I bet his stats look. But he's won the classic like
Twice.
Like
Yeah.
you just got to have your talk about that shad spawn deal, right? Where timing's everything. You put yourself in the position nobody else got on a shad spawn deal like that. That was a shining moment for you,
Yeah.
right? And you can't. It seems like when I try to force something, shit goes wrong, right? So it's like you care. We give a shit about what we're doing. So it's like, how do you care but not force that caring? And it's such a fine line, and you just kind of got to let it happen. But yet, it doesn't happen, so you got to do something about it. So then, it's a mind fuck.
Yeah, and I think back to Wheeler, like Eufaula, when I won that nation deal last year, the classic. I think to like those 3 tournaments, and I fished 3 days, and all 3 of those, made the cut for each one. Every day was so much different than even at the classic. Like, the one day I was catching them in 4 to 6 feet of water, then I was out in like 16 to 20, and then I was in like 8 to 12. Like, how much they moved every day. Wheeler, like, I caught literally, like, it happened for me an hour each day, and it happened in a totally different area and a totally different time of the day. Like, one day I caught them all on a swinging rugby jig with a Crush City crawl, like, creamed them on it on a high spot, hard spot with some current. They shut the current off, they quit biting. One day I caught them all on a drop shot, and then the one day I caught them all on a jackhammer on a shad spawn. Like, like crazy how, like, I don't even know how I figured all that out. It wasn't from pre-fishing. It was like, okay, this feels right. I'm going to go do that. Like, that's all it was. And
How
it
long
was
do you do
totally
it?
random.
How long do you do something before you like, it felt right, but it obviously wasn't? Because I'll do that all the time. It feels right for half hour.
Yeah, I would say I'm like probably a couple spots or a half hour type person. And if you don't get, usually if you think of something and it's gonna work, you're gonna catch one in your first couple casts doing it.
If they're there.
Yeah.
What are some parallels of like different species that you found? Like, because you're like world-renowned musky fisherman and probably not as recognized as a smallmouth angler, but really good at it.
But there's honestly no parallels in like musky fishing to like being a professional bass angler. It's just like having like fished around. Like, part of the coolest thing about fishing the Sturgeon Bay tournaments is that like you get to fish like at an amateur level against guys like Adam and Corey Sprangle and the Johnstons and Gussie and Fighter, whoever. Like, so many great anglers come and fish those, and it kind of gives you like a little bit of perspective
Yeah.
You know, of like how, you know, like what the different levels are. Like I do think there's like correlations to like how muskies use structure and how smallmouth do and how they behave. Like they're both a very random, they seem very random, but there's a reason why they go and do, you know, why the two fish do certain things. Like there's a reason for it. You just have to figure it out. And then like with Sturgeon Bay, like it's challenging. And then like Vermilion musky fishing, the reason why I still fish up there is like it's a hard lake to musky fish on. It always keeps you on your toes. You have to think, you have to make good decisions every day. And that's kind of why I think I've really gravitated towards the Sturgeon Bay fishing. But there's like I have so much admiration for Adam and the guys that are fishing the opens to make it to the elites, because I see how hard it is.
Dude, the cojones, man. I respect the cojones, because like, dude, 235 boats and they're all pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are about as lethal as it gets.
Dude,
it's a death sentence. Like, you have to be insane.
Yeah, I mean, you have these college anglers, kids that, hey, more power to them. They fish 300 days a year or more. Like, they're fishing every day. You should be able to catch them.
Yeah, you better fucking catch them.
I don't like. People think like I get to go down south and just do all this fishing. Like, this is the first year I had 1 week. I got to go to Gunnersville for a week. I had nothing to do and just go fishing, like outside of practice. Well, okay, during practice, you're not setting the hook on all of them. If you do, you're stupid. And during the tournament, like, that's all those are the days I get to learn during the tournament, basically. Like, I don't have a lot of experience down south. You figure out how many tournaments I fish, multiply, you know, that by 2. That's really how many days I've had to learn stuff. But yeah, so you're fishing against these kids that they get to fish every day. Jealous. Wish I could do that, but not my deal. And you're fishing against, you know, like the B Heights and Randall Tharps and Mike McClellan, like all these guys that I used to watch when I was growing up, and damn hammers. Like, you're fishing against them too, and then you have all the local guys too you're fishing. Right. I mean, it's a gauntlet. Like, you're just throwing yourselves to the wolves every day.
Yeah, dude.
It's hard, very hard. But I think that's, you probably agree with it. Like, you just said it about, you know, Vermilion. It's one of the hardest lakes to musky fish. Like, good anglers like to challenge themselves. It's not about the catching fish. It's the figuring it out.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what I always loved about guiding. Like, all I need to do is figure it out and then watch people catch them.
It's the greatest strategy puzzle that no one ever has fully figured out.
Yeah.
It's like...
because it's impossible.
It's impossible. Amen. Like, it sucks. Like, I talk to some of these kids nowadays, and, like, I don't feel that level of, like, appreciation for, like, the time spent, you know? They just want to go catch them. I'm like, don't you, like, find... or, like, they don't want to marshal the Champions Tour event. Like, you love fishing, and you can't sit in a boat with a guy who's better at it than you for a day and learn stuff. You don't love fishing. Like,
right.
You don't.
Exactly.
So I think fishing, like, with the high school thing, I think it's almost become like literally like a school activity, right? Where Johnny's not good at football, you know, Johnny's not good at bass. We just need him involved in something. Like, there's a lot of that going on. And so I just wonder about some of that stuff, because it takes a special level of insanity to do this sport, and like, straight up. And you at least come from a good fishery. Like, them Tonka guys, those guys are nuts. Like, sucks. It's fun, like, when you hit it right, but like, they're addicted to that chase. Like, as soon as they get the girl's number, like, yep, I'm good.
Tonka's pretty funny. So I've probably guided muskies out there 75 days in my life, and I've never made a cast for bass out there.
Bro, that lake is... oh. I love that lake. I've won a tournament out there, but I've lost a hell of a lot of tournaments out there. It's like, you could fish... like, Tonka's like, if you... I fished pre-fished for a tournament. You catch like 1/4 all day. I'm like, God. And then like 6 o'clock rolls around. You go into Crystal Bay, hop on a point. Oh shit! Shake it off, shake it off, dude. I found a good spot. Like, never catch them there during the day. It's weird how timing works on Tonka. It's like never had to think about it that in depth. That lake will drive a man insane if you let it. But what do you do? I saw you have this badass pool table in your garage.
That's my father-in-law's place.
Okay.
Yeah, he's got a man cave, I guess you call it, 60 by like 120 building, and one side is, the whole place is finished off, but one side is, like wood trim, and it's a man cave. And yeah, there's a Mustang pool table. We got a dartboard, a couple beer coolers, a couple whiskey racks. Like it's set up, and there's lots of like collectible items and stuff around there, and deer mounts, and it's just a super cool place. And then there's a commercial kitchen. Like it's
Damn.
probably the nicest kitchen in Sturgeon Bay. So that place.
Got bunk beds?
That's the only thing. There's no beds and there's no showers.
I'll sleep on the pool
But
table.
it's a pretty cool place. Like, yeah, you guys both gotta come down there next time you're in town.
Absolutely.
It makes it so nice, like for the Sturgeon Bay tournaments, because face it, like if you go out to the bar, you're probably gonna get in a conflict with somebody. At least I would. I'm better off being there, and then then you're hanging out with the people that you want to hang out with anyway. And then we have that commercial kitchen, so we can to cook for 30 guys is nothing. It's a piece of cake.
Sweet.
You have enough room, so it's it's a very cool place. And then on the other side, I made myself at home, and I've got the whole wall peg hooked and all my extra tackle up there, and keep my boat there. So it's a very, very cool hangout.
I've heard it's a good place to go lose like 8-10 hours that you just won't remember what happened.
There's no windows either, and the clock's usually broken. So
Perfect.
yeah, sometimes you walk out of there and the birds are chirping in the morning.
That's a sign of a good night.
Yeah.
But you're usually dragging your kids to hockey practice if you're not fishing, right?
Oh, in the wintertime, yeah.
Like, what do you guys do if you're not fishing?
Hanging out with the family or working on fishing stuff.
You got little ones?
Yeah, I've got 4 daughters.
No shit.
Yeah, I don't know what I did to deserve that, but love every one of them. But I just 2 marriages, and I can't make boys, so.
Hey, nobody makes the right decision every time.
Yeah.
I actually heard.
They're
this could be
cute
wrong.
kids though. Like I should bottle that stuff up and sell it.
Dude,
I could make some money.
I heard if the chick's on top, like, you're more likely to have a boy. Is that, like, I've heard that.
It doesn't matter.
I have 0 kids, so obviously, yeah.
I would
Luck
say
of the draw.
I tell my wife all the time, I'm like, why'd you slip in the shower? Like, we haven't even done anything together. Like,
How did this happen? Well, you had what, 2 boys?
Yeah, I have 2 boys and a girl. So
Okay.
I have a 9-year-old girl, a 10-year-old boy, and a 12-year-old boy.
Gotcha. She's
I'll
like,
trade.
you get on top for this one. How long, you married then too?
Yep.
How long you been married?
Oh, man. It'll be 20 years this next year. So 19 years.
Okay, so you're beating a lot of odds.
Yeah.
50% of dudes be.
Somehow
not.
she's managed to stick through this whole fishing thing. Because, I mean, it's just my life literally is, fishing between the guiding and the Thorne Brothers, and then the marabou jigs, and then we have the kids in hockey. And I try to take my kids out fishing as much as possible. This year I'm fishing the Gary Nolt tournament with my 10-year-old.
Oh, cool.
So I think I was telling you
Yeah,
about this.
you were. Yeah.
He was he kind of hit a little bit of a wall at the end of the hockey season, and I was like, all right, bud, you like you start skating hard again. Like we'll fish a bass tournament together. He's like, really? I'm like, yeah, we'll do it. And he's like, all right. Scored a goal on his first shift. It's just like, well, all right, here we go. I guess it starts.
You're Ronnestrand, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
But yeah, so that's kind of kids and hockey, and little kids play football too, and my daughter plays hockey, and just try to get them up to the lake as much as possible. And
How do you parent kids nowadays? Like, I wouldn't even know where to start. Like, you got these iPads, you got, I mean, they can see the world like sooner. Like, I was pretty sheltered, small town kid. Parents didn't let me have a phone. All
They
my
find
friends,
it.
Totally, right? I mean, I could find my mom's Nokia and play Snake on it back in the day, right? But I couldn't go see a pair of titties on whatever. I wouldn't even know where to start. You got a hard job, dude.
It's
Both of you.
oh man.
Yeah. But if you're around them and you're involved in their life, I don't think you have to worry about that stuff as much. Like, there's so many shitbag parents that like they don't do anything with their kid, like set them in front of a TV and walk away. You know, that's like, I think when you're gonna have issues. But like if you're involved in your kid's life and try to do stuff with them and keep them involved, like, I don't think you really have to worry about it. Would you agree?
No, yeah, 100%.
Yeah. I mean,
That's how I was raised, you know? And if you did something wrong, like, you made sure you never did it again. Let's put it that way. Like,
Yeah.
and that's how it should be. And I think a lot of stuff is like, these days, it's not the same. Definitely, there's a lot of people that like don't raise their kids like I was raised.
the diversity in different types of thought processes in parenting seems to be a lot wider now. Like, you got, Nancy's kid wants to poop in a box because thinks she's a cat
Yeah.
or whatever. Like, I
That's
never
the
dealt with anything
craziest
like
thing.
that.
My daughter came home one day and she's like, "Dad, I don't want to play volleyball anymore." And I'm like, "Why? Like, you love playing volleyball." She's like, "These weird kids on my team." And I'm like, "Okay, well, yeah, there's weird kids." And she's like, "No, like, they're called Furbies, like, and they pee in a litter box and stuff at school under the steps." And I'm like, "What?"
Yeah.
And I found out about these Furby. I'm like, their parents need to like have a good old fashioned ass kicking. Like, seriously, like, people shouldn't have a choice if they want to be a male, female, or a cat.
I'll let him be a Furby, but they're eating cat food out of a dish, too.
Yeah.
I bet he's not such a cat when you make him eat that freaking kibble and bits or whatever.
Right? Treat them like a cat. Then
That's just it.
It's the most unbelievable thing I ever heard.
Like, am I in the Twilight Zone? What the fuck?
Yeah, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? It's
You got cats at your kids' school
So not
too?
not at our school that I know of, but a couple that my wife hangs out with, like, so the town just north of us, their daughter comes home and is like, "Hey, so like my two friends, like they're furries and they want me to be a furry," and of course, their dad was just like at first he just sees red. He's just like, he wants to be like, "No, you're not," like, it's ridiculous, and he just says, "Hey, tomorrow I want you to just like watch how the rest of the class is like looking at these two girls, and then I want you to like make your decision on if you want to do this." So she goes to school the next day. She comes back. She's just like, "Dad, you're right. These kids, they're a distraction, and you wouldn't believe the way that people point at them and make fun of them behind their back."
Yeah, there
And
you
so
go.
so she decided she was not going to be a furry. But I mean, like, our kids, like, they deal with like boys that that want to be girls at school at a very young age, and they're just like, kids are kind of like at that elementary school age or whatever. They're just kind of like, they just go with the flow. They're not too crazy like my kids weren't. Like, they're not like, "Oh my God, that kid wants to be a boy or girl," but they're just kind of like, this is what it is.
That's crazy. Yeah,
You don't know what the fuck you don't know who you are till
Oh,
you're,
yeah.
whatever. Like, sure, I'll be a chick for the day just to see what flicking your own beans like, but like, come on. That's crazy, man.
Yeah, like, we just our 4-year-old is, well, she's gonna be in 4K this next fall, and my wife's like, "What do you think about sending her to the Catholic school?" And I'm not like a real religious person, neither is she, and I'm like, "What? Sure, I'm like, why? I don't understand. Like, just send her to public school. Like, I turned out fine. I went to public school, and she's like, seriously, think about it, like, what's happening these days. And she's like, I talked to the principal at the Catholic school, and he's like, we do not, like, it's male, female, like, there's no you can do what you want to do type of shit that goes on here. And I'm like, fucking sign her up. Like, I don't even care what it costs.
You only have to worry about the priests here.
Well, he's got girls. They're fine.
Oh, yeah, no, you're good.
Just gotta worry about the nuns.
As long as they identify the right way. Yeah, absolutely.
But, yeah, I was like, sign me up. Like, I'm fine with it. Like, because some of the, BS that goes on in the public schools now, it's fucking pathetic.
It's weird. It's a world I've never thought I would see, to be honest with you. Like, they act like that's always been around. Like, and people just hit it.
Yeah.
Like, no, dude, people weren't, like, shitting in boxes secretly before, okay?
That is just weird.
Yeah. I mean, I bet it's non-clumping litter too, god damn it. Jesus. The they, them, the they, us. Man, there was a trans person. I pick up FedEx boxes from Dollar General, and like I have this natural inkling. My parents like sir and ma'am, Mr. last name, Mrs. whatever. And I go to my friend's house and like say Mr. Schlungen, and you'd be like, that was my fucking dad's name. What are you calling me that for? I'm like, I'm sorry, dude. But I forget where I was going with that. 100%. I got lost in my own statement, which won't be the last time. But yeah, I don't know how you guys do it. I think parenting's got to be, I don't know if it's harder than fishing the opens, but it seems really difficult.
Yeah, like Adam said, though, you spend enough time with your kids, and like you have an emphasis on like family and doing stuff together, and it just seems like things go well for you.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, it's never perfect.
Yeah, there's no book on it,
Yeah.
Right.
the right way to do it, but it's.
Well, you do parenting one way with one kid, it works, and then you do it with another kid and ends up in rehab, right? Or
Like,
whatever.
each kid is different too, and like, I mean, I don't know.
You're like bass.
I have 4 kids and they're all still alive, so that's
That's
I've done that right. Like, no, but they're as like my 2 older ones get older. One will be driving this year, and it's crazy to think that, but like how good of kids they've turned out to be is pretty crazy.
I'm wondering, like, maybe your daughters might be the first female pro bass fishing, because like there's all that gender stuff about men playing women's sports, but there's really no like gender advantage with fishing. So I'm just wondering why the hell. And it's got to be just because it's not as cool for a girl is all I can think of. But
Yeah, I don't know. There's starting to be like more girls getting involved with it now. They have like the Bassmaster thing, and Maggie and that Anastasia and whoever else. But there's definitely more females getting it. But it's never going to be like the number where it's. I don't even know where the hell I'm going with this, but
it seems like they want to become more like Instagram heroes versus like tournament.
Yeah. Like, you don't see too many females that are just like they want to go fish tournaments.
Your wife
and
fish?
Catch them. Yeah, she
likes
loves
to
fish.
Cool.
Doesn't get to go as much as she can, but she's damn good at it. Like,
I figured you'd let her take the spare tub when you're out elsewhere.
Sturgeon Bay, like, this is like one of the first years we were dating, and I go to pick Benny up, or me and Benny are in the boat, and I go to pick Allie up at the dock, and she owns a construction company, contracting company, so they build like commercial, like they've done a lot of Burger Kings down south, and Chili's, and all kinds of different commercial buildings. So, and she doesn't take any shit from anybody. So she's on the phone cussing this guy out, smoking a cigarette, jumps in the boat. We drive over here, like picks up an A-rig, catches a 6-pounder. Like, all this is going on. And Benny looks at me. This is the first time he ever met her. And he's like, that's definitely yours. Like, you two will be just fine,
That's a sign of a good woman. So, dart in one hand, catching a 6-7 pounder, yelling at a guy.
Yeah, chewing somebody's ass out, catching a giant smallmouth, smoking a cigarette. I'm like, yep, I'm probably going to end up getting married again.
She got any younger sisters?
She's got one sister.
Asking for a friend.
She's got a brother, but I always refer to him as a female, so.
Well, that's legal now. It's not frowned upon anymore.
Yeah. No, I just give him shit.
Yeah.
But.
Did you run a Ranger before your Vexus?
Yep. I had a 620. My very first boat was a 17-foot tiller Lund I got in high school, and then when I turned 18, I bought a 620 Ranger, fished some walleye tournaments, thought that was cool, whatever. And then I ran that boat for a couple of years. I bought another 620, and that thing I ran for, man, I think I had that boat for like 7 years.
Was that the old Stars and Bars E-Tech?
Yeah. I couldn't afford to get
Stars and bars.
I couldn't afford to get rid of it. Like, I blew the damn thing up. I think I went through 4 power heads and 7 gear cases on it. And I had it for
only 7 gear cases.
I had it for 7 years. So like, do the math. Like, power head was $10,000, and I'd fix it, and then like I'm just guiding. Like, that's my income, and we all know boats are expensive, and I'm like, all right, like I'm gonna get rid of this at the end of the guiding season. I can sell it and I'll go buy a new one. I blow the motherfucker up again and then fix it, and it's like, okay, we'll wait till this next year. And then like I had the thing forever. Finally it blew up, and I'm like, I'm done. Like,
this Eric Olson's a liar.
There's no, I'm not getting ahead of the game with anything here. Like, this thing needs to go. And then I put a Mercury on my boat, and yeah, that's all I've had on my boat since then.
I've got a good Evinrude story. I had a G2 almost kill me.
I had the exact same experience that Adam did with mine.
It's funny.
Same vintage boat.
It's funny. Everybody I know had the same stories. That's crazy.
And then you get that guy with the one good one, and it's like swears by it. I still talk to that guy every boat show, like once a year. The guy's like, I have a Ficht, and I've never had to bring it in the shop. I was like, you have a unicorn, my friend.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a Ficht, that's a unicorn. But
yep.
I had an G2 almost killed me. Lost steering at 60 miles an hour, crashed it into a point. I was lake testing a brand new Triton walleye boat. It was Tim Abrams at the time, 216 Triton fish hunter. Evinrude 300 G2 on the back, and we lake test every boat before they go out, and that one didn't have a break-in, so like you can open it up, make sure they sent the right prop on it. And I grew up on the horseshoe chain, so it's home lake, know the water really well. I rip out, set down, boat's running fine, but the jack plate, needed a little bit different setting. Check through the live wells, check through everything, put the jack plate down a little bit more, and I'm ripping back, and I'm shooting this gap. You got a long, narrow point, and then a gap, and then a long, narrow island, and I'm hitting this gap, and all of a sudden the boat starts, veering to the right. I'm booking, and we're talking not a lot of room. It's not a wide open playing field here. Boat starts veering to the right. I go to correct left. There was nothing there. By the second rotation, I was hitting land, and I was like, and next thing I know, I'm flying through the air, and then I just woke up in the bottom of the boat. On the other side. So turns out boat jumps a point, takes out treetops, and then like I stayed in the boat somehow, land in the water on the other side of the boat, and like adrenaline's kicking in. I call the mechanics who were at the ramp to come tow me back, and they come tow me back, and I guess it turns out I don't know how I didn't snap my neck like on a windshield like from it. So like I wake up in the hospital or whatever, and I had 9 broken vertebrae in my back, 3 in my neck, and then like my shoulder blade and ribs, they showed me the x-ray, and it looked like you took a chainsaw like down this side of my body. And like what must have happened was I braced up for that impact, and that passenger console has 90 on it. Fuck.
No.
That's what my shoulder and ribs, like took the brunt of that, and like I'm the luckiest dude ever to like live from that. So yeah,
Yeah, that sucks.
don't trust in Evan.
Yeah, that's
Good
way
name.
worse than any of my stories.
Well, you have a little different appreciation of life. Like it was hard because like we sell those boats. All I could think of is a dude and his family out tootling around, and all of a sudden, bad things. Like it's a bad deal. So lower unit was fine though.
Yeah, that's it. Though I mean, if you fish a lot, though, I mean that's an extreme, like freak thing. If you
Freak
fish a lot,
scenario.
you definitely go through some equipment. Like there's no
100%. And like I was just on the wrong lake because I had heard about like people losing. You lose steering on Mille Lacs, you
Yeah.
know, you're gonna be fine, you know. But yeah, don't take it for granted. Yeah, you never know when it's gonna happen. And I think about like some of the, you see them videos of like them bass boat accidents and stuff, like trying to pass a guy and like, dude, those boats are death machines.
Yeah,
Like it's not a motorcycle death machine, but like it's amazing.
yeah, definitely closer to that than a car.
For sure, for sure. I don't know how people own motorcycles, dude. Do you own a motorcycle?
No. No.
I think those people are insane, man. Because every person with a motorcycle I know has had to lay that fucker down at some point. And I could just... No, I'm good. The last thing I want to do is lay a bike down on a freaking road at 30 miles an hour because Nancy can't drive. Like, no way. No way. You're not a biker guy, are you?
No.
I didn't think so.
No.
You don't look like a biker guy.
No.
Yeah.
I can barely walk most days, much less ride on something with two wheels.
So, like, you guys are both old school guys. I'm wondering, like, you get on the opens, how much minnow pinging have you had to do? And is that something, like, you're comfortable with now? Or is that something, like...
It's definitely not my thing. But I have been, like, forcing myself to do it more. And it's not, everybody thinks it's, oh, yeah, you just put a Mega Live on or a Garmin and you see them and you cast to them and they bite it. No, it's not anything like that. And therefore, I don't have the fucking patience for it. And, I've been trying to force myself this year to do more of it during practice, but it's kind of like, I've learned it's not something you just go do on a lake for 2 or 3 hours. Like, you have to dedicate at least a day to it.
Yeah.
Like, if you're gonna do it, you have to dedicate yourself to it.
I think I have like kind of a strange perspective on the whole like minnow pinging thing and an age thing because it seems like a lot of people my age are always like, oh, those young kids and like that's live scope, like that's all they want to do. They want a live scope, they want to ping minnows, that's what they're good at, you know. And it's just that it's just kind of, I think people that are older, that have fished, you know, that have like more experience, like we have seen things, you know, like fishing the way that we like to fish, and we just don't have the appetite for the the live scope fishing, and we know that we have to do it, but it's just like it's just not as necessarily what you enjoy. It's like you don't wake up in the morning going like, I want to go and use live scopes, see a bass, throw it to it and catch it. And like, but I don't, at the same time, I don't blame somebody that grew up fishing that way, because like for Adam and I, like going to a point and like knowing like where the spot on the spot is and making the cast and just knowing like that's where you're going to catch them. Like just that anticipation of like, all right, that cast. Well, that's how, what they feel when they see that, the mark on the screen. It's just different. And there's just, I do feel like there's just there's an age gap just because the older anglers don't have the appetite for it like the younger anglers have it.
I'm with you on that, and I feel like I'm kind of like a tweener, if you will, and Seth would say they skipped our generation, but like we had some of the most successful years I had was utilizing Lawrence Point 1 offshore, lining up the cast, getting the angle, spot on the spot right, and we had so much success with that it was hard to deviate from that. And like you said, I think you have a lot of these old pros that their careers were built on a certain methodology or way of thinking.
For me,
or
it could
style.
have ended with mega side imaging. Like
Yeah.
to me, that was like the end all be all. Like that's like
I wish they'd ban the shit and go back to that.
Like,
I
you
used to
could-
do good.
like you could see like you're just like that was part of like I would say like my kind of like a little bit of beginner's luck on Sturgeon Bay was being able to just go and graph and like lay out a bunch of waypoints on the sand, the rock transitions and the boulders, like just drive and then like you had all your spots.
Absolutely.
And then all of a sudden then you throw in like you're fishing like the flat and it's sandy. It's just like, oh, the school's over here, the school's over there. Mm-hmm. And I mean, like I remember probably like the LSS1 days, like fishing on the flat, and we were just like in a big flotilla of boats, and like you're just kind of making small talk with everybody around you. And we like my back of my boat swings by the back of this other guy's, like another guy fishing his boat, and I was like, hey man, like I saw a bunch of fish under his boat. I was like, would you be like offended if I like threw a cast like right off of your motor right now? And he's like, why would you want to do that? I'm like, there's a bunch of bass under your boat. He's like, whatever. And I caught like 4 in a row right out from under his boat, like literally landing. And he's just like, how'd you know they were there? So I was like, I was just like, I saw them on side imaging. And that was like, so like, and then you went from LSS1 to LSS2 to Megawatt. And it's just like, for me, that was like the pinnacle of electronics. Like,
Yeah.
it can't get any better than this.
Right.
You know, and then just like, obviously, live scope comes along. Well, the Panoptics first and then the live scope.
Totally. Did you have it on the trolling motor too?
I just ran it out. Like I fished out of the back of the boat mostly,
Mm-hmm.
and so I just had the transducer like right under the. Yep.
Yeah.
So the mooch minnow, you like the mooch?
The mooch minnow's a good one.
Yeah. You ever
So
throw it like a hair
small.
jig, like on a flat, shallow flat?
Maybe.
Yeah. It's
Old
like I gave
moochy.
you enough shit today.
Old moochy mooch.
Yeah, that thing's kind of dirty. What other, like, you like them Crush City baits? Do you like the Bronco Bug?
Yeah, they've all been good. Like it's kind of nice because, you know, like I've been with Rapala for a long time and we just never had a good plastic lineup. So I'd have
What do you mean? Trigger X was.
yeah, I'd have to buy all this stuff and it just gets out of hand. Like now I literally like, outside of a couple shapes, like all I carry with me are Crush City plastics.
What's the most underrated one that they offer that you think guys are sleeping on a little bit too much?
I guess one like you don't hear about is the Janitor. I catch a lot of fish on that thing, like on a free rig or a drop shot.
What is the Janitor?
It's
That's
just-
the worm, right?
Yeah, it's
yeah,
like-
yeah,
It's just a straight-tailed finesse worm, you know, like a robo worm.
yeah.
That's one that you don't like hear a lot of talk about, but it's legit. Like I used to carry robo worms with. I don't carry. I sold them all. I got rid of them. I don't use them anymore.
The free rig thing, that's something I'd like to dive into and what you've learned about it, because I've had a lot of success on a free rig last couple of years. Last year on Bogie I did some damage with it, but like, when are you utilizing it and what have you learned about a free rig, like versus throwing anything else?
It's just a super handy tool for like fishing deeper water where you want to get your bait to a spot faster, and you know it falls straighter. It doesn't pendulum like a lot of baits will. So like brush pile fishing, it's a very good technique for that, because with scope, there's the brush pile, you make the cast, I can get it in the brush pile faster to the fish, and it's kind of you can put whatever you want on it, but a lot of times I fish it with like a little finesse worm, and it's a more finessey, it's like a finesse power fishing technique. Like you can cover a lot of water because you can get it to where it needs to be really quickly, but it's also like has that finesse aspect to it.
Well, you're able to present a slow fall more efficiently. Bogie, it was very clear last year they wanted a slow fall, but the lake gets windy and you want to not wait super long.
Yeah.
What's interesting, I've always had made it work with creature baits a little bit better, and I guess I haven't played with the worm thing, but I guess, are you fishing it like an unpegged Texas rig, basically?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just put a drop shot weight on there and 2-aught worm hook and janitor. That rod's rigged in my boat all the time.
And see, for me, it's always like a 1/4 ounce or 3/8. I guess.
Yeah, I'm usually like a 3/8. Like I don't have patience. I want it getting in the pile quicker.
Right.
Whatever I'm fishing, like I want it to drop faster.
And like you make the cast right, and you let line out right because you want the weight to separate.
Yeah, you want it to fall straight. So
Yep.
just make sure you have totally slack line going to it so it can fall straight.
That makes sense.
Yep.
It's weird how like a drop shot weight versus a bullet weight makes like that much of a difference. Because I've tried to do it. I'm like, no, I'm not retying this sucker.
Right.
But it is a difference, like a significant difference.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's something it's technique I'm learning more about, but it's like I said, it's always, I have a rod that's like dedicated for that, and it doesn't come out of the boat. So
I'm curious to see what happens with like them koikis. Like Thorne just got a bunch of the hide up koikis in, and they got them Zappu Talisman hooks with the leaderless drop shot thing, and like just watching Taku on Smith with the like teeter totter in that dice, like scoping with it, and then I don't think the camera showed the biggest bag that was caught, but the biggest bag that was caught last year was on that koiki, 42 pounds or whatever, day one. Cameras in his boat, they don't eat it. But I'm curious, like, have you messed with any of that? Either of you?
I bought some, but I have not deployed the koiki yet. I don't even know what to do with it.
All I could think of was boulders on Mille Lacs. I had, like, biggest one I weighed in the Pro-Am came on the 17 blood red koiki. Like, they get pissed at it. Like, it doesn't make them all eat, though. But I haven't got them going, like, teetering it through the column. It's been, like, throw it on the boulder, you watch them all on scopes, and then hopefully the biggest one eats it. But
it's that stuff is so weird, like, because when you grew up fishing, like, you're trying to imitate bait fish or whatever they're feeding on, and then all this Japanese stuff comes out and there's strings and appendages. It's like, what is it? I don't even understand what it's supposed to look like. Like, look,
it looks
those
like
koikis
food.
look like
food.
Look like a damn anal bead.
For her pleasure.
They should be called kinkies, not koikis.
I think we just Crush City new for 2026. We've got the Rasmussen signature series kinky. Yeah. Oh yeah. But like, I think about, we think a jig looks like something, but you put that jig on a bottom and it goes, what the fuck does that look like? I catch a lot of bass on that looking thing, you know?
Crawfish.
Right.
But it is a good point. I mean,
Chernobyl crawfish.
I was just on Gunnersville, you know, screwing off, having fun, and like every bait that I was catching them on had a skirt. Like, if it had a skirt, you could catch a bass on it. If it didn't have a skirt, you couldn't get bit. It's crazy. It's like, think about it though. Like, it's a good point. A jig has a skirt. There's times when like a swim jig works better than just a swim bait. Yeah.
To me, like, yeah, like you put a mop jig on the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like a kinky.
Yeah.
So, and Davy Heights won on a mop jig, you know, I mean, so I don't know what it's representing, but I think to them it's food. Something. Like the dice, like if you ever look at a baby crawfish, right? Like the dice makes sense to me. It's a little moving crawfish.
Yeah.
And, you know, definitely seen, or a bug, like a marabou jig. Like, it doesn't look like a bug, but in the water it's like moving like one or breathing like one.
I think sometimes as long as you get like the right shade or the right color of something that's alive, you know, like it just, I mean, I think sometimes fish are just interested in things because they're different.
Totally.
And we, like, I hate to keep on like referencing like muskies, but the same, like with live scope and muskies, like if you're fishing around balls of Cisco's, like especially at night, and I think muskies eat a lot of Cisco's that are sleeping. Like you watch a Cisco sit in the water and you watch a muskie come up and eat it, and it's like this. But then you throw a lure at that fish, like an orba, big tail, big couple blades in the back, and that fish like engages with that bait, and it's doing this, and it's diving down, and then it comes up and it eats it like this. It's a totally different eat than how they eat what they're eating. Like a totally different bite, totally different reaction.
Make it make sense.
So then sometimes like I just wonder if like certain lures, like they're the right, they do almost everything right, but they're different enough. It's like, oh, look at that, that's different.
It's like an instinct. That
it's like
gets triggered.
A curiosity bite, or they're just like with smallmouth. Sometimes I just think they're bullies, like
territorial.
But I mean, maybe that makes sense. Maybe it doesn't. But it's just
it does. And I think about like Chickamauga. You'd see Buddy Gross. I don't think anybody's throwing a 2-ounce blade bait at these things, and you almost. We ain't banging them on the head hard enough, like. Yeah. And then you got one guy who's like, it's a spectrum, right?
That's
magical.
The fun part about fishing. Like nobody will ever have it all figured out.
And that's what I went to Japan beginning of February. It's super cool talking to like those guys over there. They don't even use scope no more. Like they shake a minnow.
Really?
Yeah, like they shake a minnow like we used to throw a swim bait. Like that's how they're fishing now. And said like that's kind of like the only way they're getting them on a minnow like pattern. But like for the most part, like they don't eat. I wonder if like them fish are just scared to eat a minnow now over there, because not like. And that's where I've noticed the Japanese stuff works, is pressured fisheries. Boji made a difference, and that's like a microcosm of Gunnersville, right?
Yeah.
So I think I'm just really curious. I don't know if the sport's going to change faster or if we're just overthinking it. Probably a mixture of both. But I feel like the jig head minnow thing is like you can't lean on it entirely. Like I think there's a lot of money being won on like gravity baits or Nico rig, like that follow-up technique to your minnow shaking, which hopefully for guys like us that's a good thing. But
yeah, I don't know. You're always trying to figure out some little mouse trap, like always trying to figure out that little bit of an edge. And that's what makes it interesting.
Well, like Sturgeon Bay is a prime example. Like I'd be curious to look at if you could see a timeline and like the lures that won the Sturgeon Bay Open.
Yeah.
I'd be really curious the evolution of that, because I know like didn't a chatterbait win that thing one year, or A-rig?
So yeah, like
chatterbait A-rig.
There's been all kinds of stuff that's been won on.
Right. Nori's pad, like from a Nori's pad 2 to a A-rig to a chatterbait, and it's like, why isn't there consistency there? And sure, there's your micro finesse stuff probably has more consistency, right? But like, what have you noticed with that evolution?
It's always like something else, like somebody will win, and I'm like, really? Like that's what you call them? Who the fuck throws chatterbait for smallmouth?
Like, right?
That's what goes on in my head.
Same.
I wouldn't even think about it.
I wouldn't. Till George on Mille Lacs told me to throw a jackhammer, I wouldn't have even crossed my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mille Lacs does just seem to be a different animal, though. Like those fish do seem to like bigger, more aggressive baits. Like, and they're like, and I don't get to do it a lot. So like for me, every time I go there, it's just like, oh my god, this is amazing. Like the way the Mille Lacs smallmouth smash at topwater. Is, I mean, it's just this white water, and they don't just come up and grab. Like Vermilion, they come up and they just slurp them. Like on a Mille Lacs, they hit them like they're mad at them, and it doesn't matter if it's a popper or a walking bait.
The Keith Combs on Mille Lacs is like my style, 3/4 ounce football jig. Adam Rasmussening that thing back to the boat.
That was the 3/4 ounce football jig. Is how we did good in both of those NABCs out there.
That lake's changing. Like. They're eating more minnows than I've ever seen. They acted like they ain't never seen a minnow last year if you shook it in front of one. Like, it was stupid, dude. Like, we were like, man, Mille Lacs is like, you get it some tough days. And then I went out with scope and a minnow last year. I'm like, am I on the same lake? These fish are retarded.
I fished that Pro-Am. That's all I threw. with
Yeah.
a mooch minnow.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't throw it during practice either. I caught them how I like to catch them. And then, like, quickly figured out how much they like a minnow. And dang near won that thing. I was like...
Dude, that area where it went down, like, doesn't, like, I didn't even practice that area. That's like the area you go to if you've never been to Mille Lacs.
Yeah.
Like, that's where you go.
Yeah,
like,
that's
it's
where I
not,
went.
if you've been fishing Mille Lacs for a long time, it's not where you go. And then, like, last year, that was like the zone, dude. Like,
I've never fished there in the spring, and like I went straight there.
Dude,
Like, it's the best looking stuff.
why were they spawning shallow there,
They're
but not
spawning deep,
anywhere?
too.
Well, they were spawning deep
They're
elsewhere,
everywhere.
but like, there were shallow bedders there, and I looked for shallow bedders everywhere but there. Couldn't find one.
Yeah,
It's
I
crazy.
never looked shallow. I started catching them off of those deep boulders, and I'm like, oh, they're all spawning. Like, this will be fun.
I got about 4 hours at Mille Lacs last year. It was not a good year for time for that one.
No, I didn't get out. I should have been out there a lot more with how good it was fishing. Last fall, it went off. It seemed like everybody was catching them out there last fall. But yeah. So you're just fishing a bay.
Mm-hmm.
Do you fish musky tournaments?
I'll fish, like, I'll kind of cherry pick like a musky tournament. Like, there's only one, like the PMTT, that's really like a thing in musky fishing. If there's a Minnesota tournament, and like it lines up with my guiding schedule, I'll fish that.
Do you think live scope should be banned in musky tournaments? That's kind of a hot topic, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, for me, I tell people, like, I can live with live scope and I can live without it. Like, I mean, there is, I would say, like, down here, like with like up north, I can see where like a musky guys that are like old timers like Pierce where they get a little bit like butthurt by live scope, because you are like scanning a 4-foot billboard out in the middle of the lake.
It's the easiest fish to scope in the whole lake.
So, I mean,
let's be honest.
They stand out like sore thumbs, but like Adam was saying, with like, we all know that catching fish with scope is not as easy as just casting to them. So like,
it's easier to miss the fish too.
It's like, and then like the optics of musky fishing with live scope's not good. It's like, cast at the fish. Oh, it didn't bite, reel it in, cast again. You know, like, it's just, it doesn't look good.
Yeah.
But like, it just kind of is what it is. It's a hot topic right now, and I'm completely indifferent on it.
And the last thing I ride in this show is drama. I could give a shit less, but it's the only, I think, format besides like MPFL that's banned it, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll also say this, that the person that won the tournament that got it banned, he's a tremendous live scope fisherman. Like, he's really good. Had he not run his mouth the way that he ran his mouth before the tournament and during the tournament, it probably wouldn't have got banned. Like, there's that.
Yep.
And you have to understand, like, I'm not trying to like I love musky fishing. I love everything about, like, it's who I am. But like, musky fishing is so minute and so small compared to what bass fishing is. Like,
It is crazy.
yeah, like we're a really small, like, unbelievably niche group of anglers, you know.
For
Like,
sure. It's amazing how cheap you guys are.
well,
I don't know. I can't even count on one hand how many musky boats I sold, but versus how many like I've shown. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, just it's kind of fun. You have like you have the complete opposite ends of the spectrum. You know, like, you have the dudes that like we always do, like, what was it, the Crestliner 1850?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
that was like the musky boat for so many years. But then you have, you know, dudes that have like 622s with 8 grafts on them too.
Mm-hmm.
You have the complete opposite ends of the spectrum. It's a really unique, yeah, I guess, genre of fishing.
Super niche. And Thorne, I mean, you guys are the king shop in the country for that. Do you guys sell like musky lures all across,
Yeah. Oh,
north
yeah.
of the Mason-Dixon?
Yep, no, it's a fun deal. But like, I love all fishing too. Like, I definitely had, like, there's times I was like, oh man, it would just be amazing, you know, to like maybe try and make a run at the Opens or something like that. But it's just, at the same point, like, I'm 45 years old with 3 kids, you know, like, just gonna keep just trying to be a parent and like introduce my kids, you know, to fishing, and then see if, you know, if that's a dream of theirs, like, help them with that if they want to go down that route. But
Absolutely.
that ship's kind of sailed for me, I think.
Yeah. Well, this is probably the most important question I have of tonight. Do you guys believe in aliens?
I don't.
Really? I don't know.
I don't
Never seen
not.
one.
I don't not believe in aliens.
Yeah, fair. I'm with you. I'm always curious. Like, there's a lot of stars out there, dude.
Yeah, no,
Each one of them stars is a sun.
Yeah,
Like, you can't tell me we're the only fuckers doing it. I'm just wondering if the bass fishing's any better elsewhere.
I just look at some of the people in this country and like, yeah, there's definitely aliens.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. The ones by that litter box over there are my first suspects. Yeah.
Yeah, whoever came up with the koiki.
Right. No kidding.
Yeah.
Well, you guys, I really appreciate the time, dude. This means a lot. I've looked up to both of you for quite some time. And Rasmussen, I know Aaron Martins took second in the Classic, too. Don't forget it. And you got some good years ahead of you, dude. So,
Oh, yeah.
And
Appreciate
then
it.
you're both going to fish in Sturgeon Bay this spring?
Mm-hmm.
Go easy on me.
You gonna be there?
Yeah, I think so. I think I'm going to go try it out again. I learned a lot. I got better each year. I still don't have the place dicked or nothing, but gotten better each year. And then we had a circuit, and I could only fish one tournament in May with the boat season things. So I'm not fishing that trail anymore. So I'm excited to get back there, play in some billiards, some Mustang billiards. Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys. This is Teal's Bass Galaxy. Checking in, checking out.